kidding.
Well, I just wouldn't say.
Hey, everybody. Hopefully everything is going good and it's live and you can see us in crystal clear high definition. We've got Jacob Israel up there in the top right corner. We've got Dex James of a Marfoogle News down in the bottom right corner. We've got Adam, Marfoogle News, bottom left corner. Right here, myself, top left. You've got me, Derek Bros. And Melia is there somewhere. Her video is off right now, but she is here. And so she will be looking at chat and interjecting when we get into some of the subject matter that we're going to discuss. I'm going to quickly let everybody know, just as it is in live television and anything else, that Larry Elder, although very good friend of mine, I'll show you right now all of these texts from him. Let me see. So Larry, I'm not going to show you the text. Might be able to see the number. But Larry has, he's a politician now, not just a talk radio host. So he has political ambitions, and so it's very careful that he chooses where and how he goes. And I think he's getting used to being in politics now, because ordinarily he would have just jumped on the show, but apparently his campaign folks are a little more cautious today. So, but we are going to reschedule. He did agree to reschedule, and that they said that they would work it out with me, but obviously they'll make sure that they hand me the talking points and things they want to talk about. So no impromptus from Larry Elder anymore. So I do apologize that, but look at the group that we've got here, man. We've got Adam, we've got Dex, we've got Jacob, Melia's here with me. It's awesome. Great lineup. And fortunately, my tooth is still not 100%, but hopefully I could make it through all of this. And I'm falling apart, man. I'm getting old. Are we all getting older? Or is it just the world falling apart around us, guys?
I think you're the oldest. I mean, you're really old. How old are you again? Seriously, but you are really old, right? Like, how old are you? I'm only 50. How old are you?
I'm 54.
That's what I'm saying. You're the oldest. Just so we're clear.
Did you do that, Dex? No. Oh,
I'm the oldest in the room. I trump all of you. Yeah, I'm the oldest in the room. I'm 57, so I'm going to dodge out now.
Oh, you do not look.
You just made us all feel really.
Can you believe that?
Silly.
Can you believe she's 57? Crazy. Come back in and let people look and go.
She knew what she was doing.
Come on.
I would have thought 40 or 30.
Melia knew what she was doing. She's like my wife. She knows. Puts it in. She's like, yeah, I just want to let you know I'm the oldest, but yeah, I know I look the best out of everybody. That's okay. No big deal. Just I got to go now.
she could lie for another 15 years.
Totally.
50,
God,
45.
You both look good. You don't look old, dude, but sorry about your tooth.
Yeah, the teeth, I'll tell you one thing. The tooth will take you out fast. I don't care how big, how mean, how tough. Tooth pain is nobody's business, connected to your head. And it's also risky. You get an infection in there, an abscess before you can get into the dentist. That can go into your brain. So it's, it's not a lovely thing. So we had other questions and things lined up, but that was primarily because Larry was going to be here. So we're going to be a little bit more impromptu, but I can tell you right now, this group of folks, it's not like that we're not on the pulse of what's happening around us. We rely on Adam and Dex to show us those things. Plus, obviously Jacob brings us the crazy, people doing blood sacrifices on altars and stuff. So we love Jacob. He keeps us up to date on the insanity of the world.
Well, you guys are better with the.
That's a real thing to point out that Paris Jackson is doing those kind of things. And, I'm sure that stuff goes on, but I was very surprised to see that was being posted to social media.
She's so young.
Oh, yeah.
Public relations point, why would you do that?
It's funny. I put, I think I have it in here somewhere in the list. Maybe it went away, but I had, lawlessness will abound, right? But the funny thing is I actually wanted to ask you guys this question is, do you think that it's, do you think that the depravity of society and people, because we're seeing it at levels that we've just never seen today, do you think it's just the internet and the addition of the internet and phones that now people are actually doing it and they're not scared for you to show it? Because it's truly troubling what we watch people do today. Troubling. I mean, it's incredible by and large. And I just want to find I always try to back myself up and wonder, is it just me seeing this? Is it increasing just to me and I'm seeing this as nuts, or does the whole world see it just as sickening as I do? I'm seeing this as nuts, or does the whole world?
Well, if anybody wants to grab that first.
I want you to talk. I'm so happy I'm here with you guys.
I think it's really scary what is happening right now because, there's, people want to put it into this cliche box of this divide, but it's even deeper than that. People are not seeing the big picture. Nobody is putting two and two together. And so many people now, everything is niched out. Everything is broken down. If you notice, even TV, if you are into something, if you're into cooking with green slime, there's probably a channel and a show for that. There's probably a reality TV show centered around tattooing or around, working on cars or alternators. There could be a specialist sub niche on that. It has people so distracted and so into whatever their hobby is that if when everybody is distracted and really grabbed by that content, they're not focusing on anything that's going on around them. All of the laws that are being passed during this last 2 years are absolutely destroying us. Like, this is huge. They're basically getting rid of any kind of privacy that we had. And this has happened for a long time, but now it is worse than ever. Dex and I talk about this on a daily basis. Like, things are getting really there. It's actually scary. It is scary.
Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just speculating here. I don't know anything. There was that moment that Obama spoke. Do you remember when he was at the press correspondence? It was like the last one because, Trump never did one. And he said, the fall of the republics never looked better.
Mm-hmm.
There's something just about, like, I feel like, okay, we're already in a new reality. We've been in a new reality. And now it's like, you guys just better catch up. I think it's going to get a little more in your face. And I'm, whatever. Just saying.
Well, I think a little bit of this is definitely something that's sort of natural or by human nature, in the sense that, like, go back and look at the 60s and, the revolution that happened then with the youth, or with how people just naturally want to do some rebellious things, and then they take advantage of that. And I say they, meaning they who opportunistically gain from it, right? And you can sort of see it. Like, why would people do what they do today on social media with phones and expose more of themselves? Well, human nature, they naturally did that. They've done that. We've seen them do that before, right? In different generations. It's just at a much greater level because of the way we're much more connected to everything and seeing it. And there's basically a stage for anyone and everyone right now.
No question. The stage, but the incredible part is that something has happened in people. And this, I believe, that we have to look at the television shows, the music. You have to look at everything. And, I don't want to sound like that teetotaler at all, but the reality is that we've made it okay desensitizing things so much that I watch people. Look, I've even watched it, when in friends of ours and friends of our kids and my kids done stuff. I was like, what are you doing there?
My kids don't. I just
no. And
I just want to be clear.
But when society sees this as acceptable,
I know
it's a fall that is just terrible. And then I believe that that's probably what the great falling away looks like. The falling away from anything that has any respect for an authority outside of this governing authority. And when the government authority doesn't give a crap, I mean, when the government authority
it seems that
tells you that the first female ever to be a 4-star admiral is a dude.
Well, I don't care about that.
No, but that's not what I'm saying is it's the first female.
I don't care.
It's not every woman
I mean,
in
the
the
whole
entire
system.
country
So
going,
it's so
"Whoa,
bonkers.
wait a
Everything
minute."
is so bonkers. It's so bonkers. All of it. It's been bonkers for a while. I want people to wake up and just love each other and learn how to get along. But it is what it is. I think people have to wake up and realize we're already under a dictatorship. This is a world system. This is we're already there. Just catch up. It's like the illusion is gone. I think it's been gone for a while. And I think what they're doing is little by little, they're just saying how it's going to be, and it's spooky. Well, but whatever it is, this is an exciting time because good things are going to come out of it. Lies can only last for so long.
On what Jacob just said is they give you little bits. If you look out through the last 5 years, they've given us little pieces of every single thing that's happened through mainstream media, through mainstream news. They've given us little tiny things. And a lot of the articles, that we see, they give you little tiny parts and they say, oh, this is probably going to happen, or this most likely will happen.
Yeah.
Nobody pays attention because it's just a little tiny addition to another thing. They just
put it in the back of your head, right?
File
it away.
And then all of a sudden you're mentally predisposed to it. And then 2 years later, it just slowly kind of hits. People are getting used to everything, even facial recognition. There's gas stations in my state now. It's so funny to watch because everybody who's new to the gas station, they walk up, and I did a video of this on my channel. They have to go up to this Jackson gas station and they have to look around and see the sign that says basically look up. They have to look up at the camera. They have to smile, and then it will do red or green. And
I saw that.
It will do red if you have shoplifted, or if they have you on file on any of the Jacksons across the country. It will say red and it will not let you in. But the problem is you cannot just open the door. You have to do facial recognition. So you stand there and do it. And people, my wife did, and I videoed this. My wife has never been to a Jackson, never been to this gas station, especially with facial recognition. We videoed all these people getting denied, or it would say red, and they're like, what the hell? She got a red, and then she went inside, and the lady said that it mistook her for somebody else. And she told her, she goes, it mistook you for this person's name. She just said the first name. She goes, are you Stephanie or something? So it's like she couldn't get in a gas station, an essential place that pretty much everybody has to use. What if she had cash? She couldn't pay for gas unless she got through that gatekeeper. People are getting used to this, though, and now so much so that it is actually going to be on our doorbell cams and all of these things. Everywhere you walk through a suburban neighborhood is now going to be grabbing your face, whether you have hours or not.
That's right.
Well, anybody who's bought an iPhone, right? Anybody who's bought an iPhone in the last 4 years has been face scanning and using facial recognition all day long to unlock their phone. So they're definitely getting used to it.
Dex, Adam, is this like a legit thing where that iPhone takes your pictures like every 6 seconds? Did you see that? There was like some video going around where they use an infrared camera and the thing was like flipping a picture of you like every 6 seconds. Is that legit, or was that like, did you hear about that?
I haven't heard about it, but I do know the camera can be used to be aware of your, whether or not you're looking at the phone. Right. So it's constantly having to pay attention to whether or not you're there. And for battery saving purposes, it will, turn off faster if you're not looking at the phone or not there.
Yeah.
There's some technology.
They sell you on the benefit. No, this is for the battery life, but it's really just to sit and spy on you.
I go to the bathroom in the morning with my phone. I just want to point that out. I have Crohn's disease. Not that pretty. So I hope it's not flipping the pictures. You know what I mean?
Oh, it is. But do you remember when Edward Snowden came out and let the entire world, and I think one of the only reasons they said that they stopped doing it and they deleted 660 whatever billion files is because the entire world said it was a crime against humanity. They were able to access the French president's cell phone and watch it. If you talk to any of the people, including we've had callers on our show that have talked about, the stuff that they were able to access, they could access anybody, including our own people, our own personnel, our own campaigns. That's why this huge thing with the whole Trump and him being spied on is a big deal because you had one part of the government spying on the other part of the government. This is a big deal, and it hasn't stopped.
What about the fact that the CIA, this is on record, they were going to kill Assange. They were going to kill Assange. Like, and we're like, it's Tuesday.
You can't embarrass God, the government God, right? Because that's where we're at. That's so what this is. That's why I had this up here. Government God, red versus blue religion. You believe in one way or you're the enemy, just like a religious debate, or they hate you, right? This is literally where scripture brings this to light, because everything that is in scripture, everything from the New Testament is a political situation enduring the exact same things that we're enduring right now, just in a different setting. But I've said the lepers across the river, right?
The COVID, that's the lepers, the COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. Well, who's not vaccinated? That's just to point it out.
Of course.
Sorry to say, but that's like, there's nothing new under the sun.
Not a thing.
Can I say something? Because I'm a scaredy cat. I just want to point this out. I was at the gym and this young kid, he was kept looking at me, and I'm going, oh, I don't want to talk to this guy. I just want to work out. I want to save my voice. I got a show later. He keeps looking at me. I'm like, oh, I know, Lord, I got to talk to this kid. I don't know why I got to talk to this kid. I'm trying to do my set, and he gets stuck. 20-year-old buck. He's got like 185 pounds. It's a lot of weight, I guess. And it's stuck. And he's like smiling, and I'm listening to some scripture. I take my earphone, and he goes, will you give me a spot? And I lift it up, and I help him. And then he's like, will you spot me on my next set? And I'm thinking, you're not wearing a mask. Am I going to put myself here and like stand over you and spot you while you huff and puff in my face, you young kid who can't handle his weight? But yet I know God wants me to talk to him. And I'm like, for the kingdom, why not? Give him the spot. Give him the spot. His name was Christopher. Turned out he was, didn't have a father, down the wrong road. Things always have a reason of turning that way. So I used to be very, very scared of COVID. I gotta be honest, because I have Crohn's disease. I have like no folic acid. I just have my blood work done. I have 0 folic acid. So I'm like taking all this, what are you going to do? It's like, we're going to live, we're going to die. In the grand scheme of things, there's more important things in life. And I'm part of the change.
Well, the good news is that we're going to die. Does anybody want to stick around this place any longer than we have to at this point?
Yeah. Can I just say something? One thing that I wish Larry was here for, and especially if he ever goes, and he really does take it seriously and moves farther in the races of, I hope the guy ends up running for president someday, because I watched all of the videos of him answering, these questions from reporters. Here's the thing that I hope that we really get a real person, somebody like him, to talk about is censorship. What Jacob just said, because he mentioned that V word.
I know.
This
on my channel.
Well, but we got to respect for Derek. But I get
just kidding, Derek.
We are allowed to say that, but it depends on the context. Now that the actual algorithm, it picks up context. If you say something negative about it, now there is no, there's no you'll appeal later, but it's guilty until proven innocent, not vice versa. And it's like what he just said, there's nothing wrong with that. And he actually stated something that would kind of back up, that he was afraid of it. All of us were, especially in the beginning when they were showing us people falling in the streets and everything else.
Dying.
Why?
The ovens never stop burning.
Why? There's only a few people, and I don't know if they're on the payroll to be the public voice. So people think, oh, somebody else is taking care of this. Why is nobody going against this big tech censorship? I mean, now it is literally looked at like you are not allowed to say certain words. You are not allowed to share your own opinion. You can't be religious. Now people are being persecuted more than ever. It's so crazy to me to think that, you don't persecute this religion while persecuting one of the largest religions out there. They're persecuting Christians for being Christian. Meanwhile, saying, hey, equality, and let's make sure that everybody feels comfortable with their own religion. and then at the same time calling Christians extremist and all of this, and then at the same time basically putting certain people down as far as making all white people guilty for what they didn't do, at the same time as empowering black individuals. I mean, they called Larry Elder a white supremacist without even knowing his color. That's the kind of stuff that's going on right now.
No, they said they called him the black face of white supremacy. Like, it's the crazy part is where it's in the same way that you can't even say the J word anymore. But to say that I would be anti-Semitic.
What's the J word?
A Jew. You can't even really say that.
Oh, good grief.
No, but that's the whole point is that, we have a perception where
it means to praise. It means
the
to
media,
praise. It's a
the
great
media
word.
And everything. So this is really what I wanted to talk about and get into a few of these, because this, I believe, I've got both. I've got this question to come up. What's the best possible scenario for the U.S.? And what is the worst possible scenario for the U.S. in 3 years?
I got that one down.
So because this is a conversation that, when Melia and I were talking with Larry, it was just, a conversation we're having on the phone. He's on speakerphone. And I was asking him that, and I wanted to bring it up here again. And he said, well, I don't know. China just flew a missile right over top of our country.
Yeah, crazy.
Right. Flew a missile right over top of our country, and we haven't done a thing. Now, this is where Larry and politicians and everybody, where it concerns me that they're so isolated in thinking literally that they can really make a difference. And I don't, honestly, from this global standpoint, everyone wants to focus it. This is a question just for us. But the reality is, what's the worst possible scenario for the planet? Because however we go is where the planet's going, as you've already seen. This is a global situation and a global setup to have governments working lockstep with one another perfectly in all of these things in order to accomplish this. So the question is, I would ask, Adam, you're on top of this all the time. You're, talking about the news on a daily basis. What is the worst possible scenario that you see over the next 3 years or even 1 year?
Well, I believe we're about to go to war with China, and I partly believe that half of our government has already been infiltrated by that foreign government, that there's people on the payroll. But that's not the only thing. For us to get to this point, like you just said, every country in the world has now basically, they all agreed somehow, no matter what their differences, you couldn't get them to agree on anything before. About 3 or 4 years ago, everybody just started falling into place like a puzzle piece. How did you get all of these countries, especially ones that do not like any of the other countries? They all fell in on this whole CV thing. They all agreed. And you would say, oh, because of this scary thing. Well, not all those countries agreed. The 5 countries that went against it, all of their leaders were taken down in 5 months. And that's again speculation, but the only 5 countries that went against the kind of rigmarole, all of their leaders were either replaced and I mean replaced permanently. So something is going on. What if they have knowledge of something that's going to happen? And again, not what they're saying. They're telling us that we're at the point of no return and that the world is not going to be livable and that everything is melting, all of that. And I always look at what we can't talk about. Now they are adding something to all the platforms. Like if you go against the change, then you will also be removed. When they add something to that list of we're going to instantly remove that, that's where my senses go off and go, okay, you're not allowed to talk about this. I think it was Voltaire, his famous quote that says, look at what you can't talk about. That's most likely what you need to be paying attention to.
No question. Yeah, look at what you can talk about and what can't you talk about. Well, it's crazy. But see, this is where you can start to see the different types of strategies that they've used before. Okay, the same people. And this is not, and I want to make sure that everybody understands that I'm not trying to categorize a specific kind of people that, okay, there's this group of people, and because that group of people are doing these certain things, that the whole group of that people are guilty of it. That's no, if I were to say that, I would be just as guilty as the people saying that I'm responsible for slavery in this country. Right.
I just want to add something. Somebody said, okay, Marf, you just keep on fear mongering. or warmongering. Sorry, not
who said that.
That do not fear. But get this. I just want to say something. So a lot of people say that a warmongering, China and the U.S., they could go to war, and guess who would prosper? BlackRock and Vanguard. They own almost everything. They own 10% of the V, even might be 5% on BlackRock. So they own a part of everything, all of the changes, but they also are the person you most likely invested in with your IRA or your 401k plan. That was all invested through BlackRock. BlackRock has more GDP than the entire world, all of the countries combined, except for China and US, all of the money in the world. BlackRock has more money than all of them combined. And this company has told everybody, they did a huge push, and even Soros, I think, what Dex, wasn't it Soros that said, I can't believe BlackRock is telling everybody to invest in China. BlackRock is funding both sides. This is history repeating itself. People say, well, China, we owe China all this money. They won't go to war with us because they want their money. That doesn't matter. And guess what? If they did win, or if it's set up, just like a certain vote day, if it's set up for somebody to be at the top now and them have a new currency that's coming out and a new gold-backed currency, and it's going to replace the dollar because the dollar's done, then they're set up on top. If they win, it doesn't matter. They'll own way more than what we owe them. They'll have control over the entire country. Who cares about the 20 trillion, 60 trillion, whatever the trillions of dollars that we owe them? Owning us is a whole lot more valuable than whatever we owe them. And an actual conflict is brewing right now. They have cut everything out of the Western world. They have cut all English exams. They've cut all the people that are there. The only job you can get there is either a specialist or somebody who teaches English. All of those people are now losing their visas because guess what? Overnight, they changed the laws to take out every English teaching school. The only job you could get there is a foreigner. And they cut all communications off with the video game community, one of the most rebellious. And this is crazy. The video game community apparently was one of the most rebellious, and they were organizing protests through video games like Call of Duty. Jacob covered this, and then they cut that off. Now they have made it down to on Friday night from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. you are allowed 1 hour of video game time, and you cannot talk with the international community. They've cut out all of this communication, and then they're loading up ferries, civilian ferries with tanks right now. And it's not just propaganda. They are going to take Taiwan, and then we will fight them, and it will probably be set up where they're going to hit, and the battle will probably be predisposed, but it will happen. Just wait.
Or we won't fight them. And because that's really kind of what Joe Biden seems to be telegraphing, that he wouldn't do a thing about it. So that's even worse. That's even worse because at that point in time, it's kind of like, when you see one of your friends really screw over one of your really other good friends, and you're like, well, if they can do that to them, when they're going to do it to me. So we won't have any support behind us when that war, because let me tell you something. Let's say China did invade Taiwan and we don't do anything. Well, guess who they're invading next?
Japan?
Probably us, because we would be expecting something like Japan. But I would not doubt it 1 minute.
One of our good friends is his son is going to Japan right now. They just deployed him right down the street.
They're circling Japan with Russian warships, U.S. warships. Everybody's out there, and then this submarine. And then the submarine accident that just happened. China was calling out publicly, "We want you to disclose all the details because something happened there." Dex, can I ask you, as far as like when somebody says, warmongering or something like that, does it seem crazy to you? Because I think it's more than just signs on the wall. It's everything. I mean,
look at history. Haven't we always been in conflict? There's always something big. From Nam going back to WW2, the Middle East. What's next? Something's next. There always will be some sort of conflict because the powers that be want to finance that. It makes them money. They create it. It's been part of history for as long as mankind can remember, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to bring this up. if people say warmongering, what was Christ talking to people about? Great tribulation. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation spoken by Daniel the prophet standing in the holy place, whoever reads, let him understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let who is on the housetop not go down and take anything out of his house. And let he who is in the field not go back to get his clothes. But woe to those who are pregnant and those who are nursing babies in those days. And that pray that your flight may not be in the winter or on the Sabbath. For then there will be great tribulation, such as not been since the beginning of the world until this time, nor will there ever be. Unless those were the days were shortened, no flesh would be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened. So in talking about that, was Jesus fear-mongering, or was he preparing you for something very specific? Was he preparing you for a time and some things that were going to be taking place? Because that's what's happening. We are literally living these days. We're living the life of Christ. We have to speak parables so we don't get banned off of communication devices. We have to speak in parables so the Karens don't come out of the closet and start throwing stuff at us. I mean, we have a collective citizenry of the planet going collectively insane right now. And
can I say,
this is how you prepare. You know what they do? They teach you go to Le Mans class, right? They go, this is going to hurt really bad,
right?
Really bad. Malia has always given the Pitocin drip. I'm understanding that when you know these things are coming, then when they come upon you, you're braced for it. You are prepared for it. You know what to do going through it. That's my only concern. I'm prepared about the hearts and minds and the souls of the people, that they can literally survive this, not physically, but spiritually, because that's what's going to matter. If you want to get out of this place and you don't want to return to this prison planet that we live within, this recycled death program, everything here dies, folks. Everything dies. Anyone thinks that this is other than, a death cycle or a prison, a refinement center, then something, I don't know what you're thinking. But you're not fear-mongering at all. Anybody says,
way,
I want to say something
real quick. BP Earthwatch
Go ahead.
said, why do you need to invade when they're running the show now? I think he's kind of right. That's why I said half of the government is literally infiltrated, and it's super obvious. Why did one side not join the China task force? Why was that? Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
I just wanted to say that I'm very encouraged by you, Adam, that somebody in the chat, whoever it was, probably one person, probably 1,000 other people in the chat right now saying, Adam, you rock, that you're so concerned with that, like one person, because you have a good heart and you don't want to get people scared. So I'm encouraged by the fact that you want a check. Don't worry about these people. You're doing good.
No, I just, and we don't even hear it that much anymore. Now people see it.
The world is a mess. The world is a mess.
And let's face it, it's not about being scared. I mean, ultimately, there's going to be some sort of conflict. Would be remiss to think that nothing will happen for the end of time, that nothing will ever come about, right? Something will happen. So do you keep your head in the sand and are you oblivious to it? Or do you get your head out of the sand and you do what you can to make yourself right, to make your family right, to make the people around you right, and to help spread a positive, outlook for folks so that there's something to do to better the state you're in right this moment, right? So that you can be prepared to handle what may come your way, whether, it is another conflict, and whether it's on our shores or not on our shores, it still has an effect, right? Whether someone's invading us or we're just having a proxy conflict halfway across the world, right? It's going to affect the lives of people all around the globe, but specifically if you're here in America, it's going to affect you in some way or shape or another. So what can you do to be prepared for that? Not necessarily be scared of that.
But
my problem is my wife. It's Danielle's problem. That's the problem. I want to get a house in the mountains. I want to stack it up. I want to be on a river. And she's like, will you stop worrying? So it's really my wife's fault. I'd like to be prepared. I think people should be prepared, but honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, if I have faith, what am I doing? I gotta, God is big enough to direct my steps. It's foolish for me to think that I think people should be prepared. I do. But,
well, can I just add that
my wife happy too,
if you have faith like Jacob, right? And if you have faith, then you know things are going to work out. Things have always worked out. Things have always happened for us. I've talked about this too on other people, and I think I've talked with Jacob, that somehow at the worst times something good always happens, or when we were down to our last penny, something would happen to where it would always replace itself. In fact, I think specifically, Jacob, I talked to you like when we were 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we were really, really close being to our last dime, and then something magical happened. Somebody came out of the blue and offered me a better job, and then this and that. It's like, if you have faith like that, then you don't worry about this. I'm not worried about war. But at this point, I know, I mean, there's things that are not being put on the front page that they are doing right now, like drilling, landing on highways with A-10 Warthogs. They're landing C-130s. These things are done before an actual event where they take out all the bases, they take out all the airports. And mind you, this could be stopped. And if enough people knew, then the whole world would start talking about it. And not just talking about a conflict, but specific ways that they are trying to do this. And they should put this at the forefront, but they don't, because they're teamed up with China. Half of them are. So they're trying to push it down as much as they can, that China is trying to take over the world.
Well, the best thing that could happen is if that division, the best thing that could happen is if that division that they've been sowing creates an opportunity for everyone to actually come together and unify around, what is right and getting rid of what is wrong. And I don't know that would actually happen. That just seems too grandiose and too good to be true. But, and I don't necessarily want to, I'm sure what we'll probably see is some sort of made up event that tries to bring people together. But it would be nice if there was something truly organic that brought an end to a lot of the division that we're seeing right now.
Well, that would be nice. I mean, the organic aspect, and that's only going to be through the individual awakening into Christ, into who you actually are, the individual. And so I've always said that, that is the thing that is happening and must happen. However, Scripture also says that narrow is the gate and few find it. I don't think 2 or 3 billion people is a narrow gate. That's how I always respond to people in Christianity. Do you really think that 4 billion self-professed Christians on earth is a narrow gate? If you believe the Scripture and you believe Christ's words, then what does that gate look like? And how few does it mean as far as few? And do you really want to save yourself through this? I don't want to save myself through this. All I want to do is accomplish what I'm intended to accomplish through it. If I'm supposed to help folks, and if they're out there fighting their wars and they come to us to receive some food to help them keep going, I'll help them. I'll help them do whatever. I'll try to save their soul, and say, stop killing people. I know it seems like a justified war, but stop hurting people. This is not going to help. It's not. But that's what they need to happen. First of all, if they truly do have a concern of the population of the planet, and they do, all of the elite do, then they're going to try to fix that. And so without getting into the things that get the channel banned and videos and things taken down, all of us know this, but the fact of the matter is they need to accomplish that. And it's much easier for them if we do it ourselves, or at least the majority of it. So you look at what's taking place. If we don't finish ourselves in a revolutionary roundup, if we don't finish ourselves in tribal, because I see that that's going to be something. We're turning tribal in how people are reacting in these groups that they're setting up, because you will have separate groups, and each group, as these people begin to separate groups, you even see it on YouTube, and communities. These communities will have their own dogma. They will become their own little religious dogma. You can't come in here unless you think this way. You can't come in here unless you think that way. And this is going to be awful. So unless you can find the people that can unite and have that of one mind and of one accord, a very simplified understanding of all of this. If people do not walk into this with the most simplified Christ-like mind and say, I have no enemies, everybody's my brother, that doesn't mean that I'm going to open the door to a guy dripping blood out of his mouth and going, I want brains. That's not going to happen either.
Do you think zombies are coming, Derek? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're telling me?
We already live in the zombie apocalypse. Have you watched TikTok or anything?
I think you said zombies are going to come to my door. I think you did. And I got to tell you, I did a lot of shows about zombies. It's coincidental.
Well, Melia can jump in here anytime she wants to. She's sitting over here just smiling and having a good.
I think Adam wants to talk about zombies.
No, did you know that The Walking Dead, the show, never said the word zombies in all of the previous 10 shows, and they did that on purpose because they didn't want to attach it with the silly part of the zombies. Zombies, the actual thing behind that, if you look at the race and ethnic targeted gene editing that China is doing, they can actually make, and this is a real thing. Look at what they've done. Dex and I just covered this. You can actually target certain races and even say stop them from learning. You could target the part in their brain that would stop them from learning or make them slur their speech. This is what they can do with gene editing and with this technology. And they can also use it as a weapon. And they've already come up with a way to do it. And it would be an actual microscopic bullet, essentially. And it would go right in and it would change you from the inside out. This is a real thing. It could also make you aggressive. So as far as zombie, I don't think that maybe that would be less possible. But if there was an actual biological weapon, there is, that could go inside you and then turn you aggressive and have you turn against everyone around you. That is a reality. That is not only a reality, the government is now looking at it and saying, we have to fight this. How would we stop this? And guess what? Whoever comes up with that little bullet, Dex, isn't it true? They would also have the antidote to it. They could fix it.
Not only do they have the antidote, it's almost like an encrypted disease in the sense that you could not even figure out how they did it because only the person that created the gene alteration has the code to make it. It's almost like computer code, right? And if you don't have it, you can't hack it. You can't reverse engineer it. Only they have the ability to undo it.
But what if I'm like Neo? What if I'm like Neo in the Matrix? What if like I'm more than what they think? I'm just saying. What if I got superpowers?
Well, that would be nice, wouldn't it? But the reality is you're going to have superpowers. Imagine, so in Adam, in the way that you just said things, that it can make you do all of these things, right? So people will imagine that they'll begin doing things that they don't like that they're doing, but they can't stop themselves from doing that. And let me recall.
It's called Oxycontin.
I think that was spoken in scriptures. I think Paul said that. Paul said, I can't stop myself from doing these things I don't want to do. And so where does that come from? And will they do it more? So when you think about Christ, and I've always said that if you want to compare our lives to Christ's life, and you have to think about it and understand that it is exactly the same types of things, that his parables were for the same reasons that we have to speak in parables today. And when he healed people, again, it came down to something different. Not a lot of people always catch this. When he said, when somebody, the man wanted him to cure his blindness. He said, "Do you believe I can do this?" "Yes, I do." "Well, then according to your faith, it's done." Your faith, not his ability, not his powers, but your faith. Do you believe he qualifies? Because belief systems are huge.
I believe I have superpowers. I just wanted to point that out.
So, but you will have superpowers. And that's where when people believe, now here's the difference. When somebody is told that they're sick, look at the people reacting right now. When they're told they're sick, they think they're sick.
I know. It's
right? There's placebo, there's nocebo. So you're going to be walking up, and with authority and power, you'll go, "You're not sick. Get up and come with me." And they'll see that you're normal and you can think on your own, and you will be so abnormal to them. You will be ridiculously abnormal to these people because they are just like all of the other bots. Right? I remember this little kid, and this was just one of these things. This kid that lived in a building next door to me, and he was, he's watching me fly drones, and he came up and he said, he goes, look, I'm finally cool. I've got an iPhone. And I go, "You got an iPhone? You're cool now?" And he goes, "Yeah, everybody's got them." And I go, "So you're cool and unique because you are exactly like everybody else? Like, what sense does that make?" I said, be unique and carry an old dial phone. He was like, what?
That would be very cool.
But this is what I'm saying, is that we are headed into an area in this world where people will believe they're sick and you will heal them by telling them they're healed because they can't be you. And you already experience that. And those that are kind of running the show, they'll come out and kill you for saying that because you're waking up the zombies that they created.
And that's the mind. The mind is a very powerful tool or weapon.
The same, yes. The mind is the mind is the tool. It's the weapon, and it is the tool. And this is precisely why Christ added mind to the scripture. Love the Lord with all your heart, soul, and mind. Add your mind. Keep your mind. Keep your crown about you. The crown of thorns around Jesus's head, I always said, is symbolic to say you're not allowed to think outside of how we say to think. That's what the crown of thorns. That's putting his mind back in barbed wire, back in prison. That's the symbology of that. Had nothing to do with just trying to cause pain. I'm sure the cat o' nine tails did that plenty.
I agree. Can I add to that too?
Yeah.
Because now we're talking my language. Thorns, Jesus, the field and the sower, he sows seed into the field and it's strangled by thorns. And the disciples say, what are the thorns? And he's like, you meatballs, you don't even know what the thorns are. The thorns are the cares of the world. So literally a crown is symbolic of somebody being ruled or an authority. And they drove those thorns deep into his head. The cares of the world, the deceitfulness of riches. We've all taken it upon ourselves. Sadly, Paul's thorn, that's what it was. He dealt with the same thing we do. And the irony is God doesn't take it away from us. God's not telling me, don't worry, your video didn't get enough views. Don't worry. He's not telling me this. It's all right. You worry. I worry. I'm like, hey, am I going to be able to do this? Am I going to be able to do that? I worry. Got the cares of the world and the deceitfulness of riches, thinking that if I just had more money in the bank, all of a sudden I'd be okay. The truth is, I'm good. In the midst of this, I'm good. I was born for this moment that's happening right now. I'm good.
Jacob,
good.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure,
you have not gone back to the career that you've had for years and years, right?
No, didn't need to.
So, and by the way,
yes, you were right, Adam. You were right.
I was telling. So, by the way, he would not leave his day job for a very long time.
I like my job.
He was very comfortable. He did really good. He was one of the top people in his job. People respected him. He was the best at what he did.
Number one guy.
So, but it was his comfortable place, and he could sometimes do what, his YouTube stuff, kind of work on someone. It was slow and whatever else. I kept telling him though, I said, you are better used doing your channel. And you did, I said, if you just jumped and went full bore into it, it would give you the ability to support yourself and your family. That, let go of that and take the leap of faith, and it will take care of you, because more people need you in that space. People actually depend on you. People, there are people that have probably stopped and didn't commit suicide because of your channel, Jacob. There are people that most likely you made their day, or you got them through CV. You got them through this whole thing, and you were better used to going out to hundreds of thousands of people rather than your 9 to 5 dealing with 10 people a day. And you took the leap of faith, and now it's worked out. And, I'm just glad that you did that.
Adam, I wish I could say that I took the leap of faith. I was being severely persecuted and treated poorly.
But you predicted that.
I knew that, when an eagle's nest, when the chicks, it's built in such a way that it gets uncomfortable for the chicks because they grow. And if they don't finally, it gets more and more uncomfortable to the point where you're being hurt. And I was being hurt at my job, and I left. And what they did to me was really very, very wrong. But I forgave them because I knew I needed to push. I knew I needed to push. And I do trust, unlike a lot of people, I really, since I was a child, I've always put my faith in God. I didn't know what God was or who God was. I didn't know. I didn't know where to look. I looked everywhere. But I knew that there was more to my life. And I knew that I wouldn't go through everything that I went through, and I wouldn't suffer and endure everything I endured. And I wouldn't be subjected to everything that I was subjected to. I wouldn't have been sick and abused. And none of that, unless there was a purpose, a great purpose. Here I am, 50 years old. Come on. You should have saw me at my 20-year anniversary at high school. That's all I got to say. And I got to say something. The guy who beat the hell out of me at the only party I was invited to, because I was so sick and I was such a loser, wasn't allowed to go to the parties. I was so poor, wasn't cool enough. I got invited to this cool party, and first party, senior year, beginning of senior year, got the tar beat out of me. A girl had to jump in and kind of save me. Ironically, 20 years later, my wife, we went to my reunion. My wife was there, and the one guy, I look at this guy. I'm looking down at my nose at this guy. I was still shaking. It was half my size. So a lot changes in 20, 30 years. And needless to say, she put the guy in his place and had no clue. It was the weirdest thing, because he said something about my beard. He said, "Oh, you got a beard now, huh?" And my wife came over and said, "What are you talking about? Can you grow beard?" It made me feel so good. But my point is that it was my faith. It was always my faith. I always knew where I was going. I knew I'd be here, and so that I have a lot of hope, and I'm scared about a lot of stuff too. And I got to tell you, I think that they're already in charge. Worried about invasion. I think they're already in charge.
Oh yeah, invasion took place a long time ago.
I don't know that for a fact, but I think, because I had so many weird dreams. I had dreams of like Trump, and his face, he would like shake his face, and he was Chinese. He would shake his face, and he was Trump again. It was very strange. I had all these very strange dreams. And what's that animal or beast or mythical creature that's associated with China again?
Dragon.
It's interesting. It's interesting, because then a dragon would give power to a system, a beast system that we're all already a part of. Can't buy or sell without it.
China, the beast system's been around a long time.
Been around for a while.
Well, but so I agree with that, because the million-man propaganda army that China has, no other country has 1 million people on the payroll sitting at a computer just to be a fake person. Ooh, they are literal NPCs, but real life. They're real people that can sway anything. And now we have given so much power to big tech and so much power to Twitter. I can't believe to see what the things that are trending now. Now you cannot have an opinion that goes against again. How can they say, Christians are this, Christians are that, and then at the same time say, that we should push these people up and then push those people down? There's no equality right now. It's even worse. And now they're telling people I love the Morgan Freeman. If you guys haven't seen this clip of Morgan Freeman, that he says, I want you to stop calling me a black man, and I'll stop calling you.
Yeah, it was a good one.
And he goes, when we stop talking about race, he goes, he says, I don't want a Black History Month. Why? Because I want to stop.
I deserve more than a month.
No, he said the opposite. He says, I don't care. Do you want to, and he talked to the reporter, and he goes, do you want a Jewish month? No, I don't want it. He goes, I want to stop talking about race. It's a description. It's a color. It's a literal, from here to here color, right? And I've always thought the same way, that if we just stopped it, and the only reason that we have it is because of descriptions, like, it was a 6-foot black man, instead of, he was, we should almost call it a number scale from palest, redhead, negative, 1 to 45 to 90.
Ooh, I like that. That's actually really cool.
And think about it. You say, he was a 6'5", number 32. Right. That is shade, right? Or roughly. And we would all know what shade, but it wouldn't be a white or black, because guess what? Nigerian is a different color than an African that is a different color, but they all call them black. And then a Norwegian or somebody Scandinavian, they just all call them white. That's division. That's putting people in two different cups when there shouldn't be that. The only reason why we even talk about color is it's descriptive. Now we are teaching people to literally segregate, to say this person did this and this person that. This is just absolute absurdity. Morgan Freeman was 100% correct. And it's crazy that a white person were afraid to say anything, but Morgan Freeman can. Morgan Freeman said, stop talking about race. It's only a descriptor. It doesn't have.
He said that, in all fairness, he said that years ago. If he went out and said that today on CNN, they wouldn't air it. So that's the difference, right? So you've got that pastime piece. And I remember, I did a movie with Morgan called Outbreak. And when we did that with Dustin Hoffman and Morgan Freeman, I had a lot of chances to talk to him. And he's very, obviously being the manager at that time of also another black actor in Cuba. And I remember having conversations with him, and he was very irritated. He was kind of a grumpy dude, but primarily because of the categorizations and how people talked. And I've always been that way. But I've spoken about this many times on this channel, is about the reason why groups are put together, or for instance, us. When people go, well, I'm a truther, or I'm a this, or I'm a that, I'm like, be careful when you do that, because all they have to do is taint the image of that box that you've put yourself in. And now they destroyed the box, and they've destroyed everybody that associated themselves with it. That's just plain stupidity when anyone would do that. And the same goes as far as what we believe a word means. Many times, I mean, one of the things people will come here on this channel, they'll say, because I speak scriptural things constantly. And they'll say, well, are you a Christian? Right. And then I'll start to talk, and they go, no, it's a yes or no, yes or no question. I'm like, no, it's really not. And let me explain to you why. They don't want to hear it. But I go, but there's 44,000 plus denominations of Christianity. There's more than 20,000 different variations of the scripture that you would call the Bible and God's word. All have very, very different meanings and very, very different interpretations. Which version of Christianity are you that you can say you're a Christian, that I'll be able to know exactly how you think about all of it? I don't know. So I can't associate myself with your version of Christianity. I can't confirm in the negative or the positive or the affirmative whether I'm a Christian in your eyes, because I guarantee you 99.9% of Christians out there that are evangelicals in their church, only listening to their pastor, never doing any studying, have zero experience with the Spirit within them, have no genuine experience ever in their lives spiritually. They just went and were taught what to think about it. Their version of Christianity is never going to be me. Right? They still think shit is a bad word. They think it's a bad word. They think cuss words. I'm like, really? You know what are bad words? Words that hurt people. That's a bad word. And I've heard people use good words to hurt people. So which do you choose? This is about how we love one another, how we treat one another. And that's, to me, if I wanted somebody to say, oh, what kind of community would you be a part of? One where people don't have drama. One where I don't have to worry about it. And that's the greatest part I got to tell you about ever, being a guy from the corporate world and all this and being thrown into prison. Let me tell you something what prison does. It teaches you how to live with people in very tight quarters that you don't like very well, and they don't like you. And it is a whole different experience. And if people want to have a better understanding about how to live within one of these communities coming up, they better start talking to some prisoners. They better start understanding how it works and how to respect and love another person that you don't necessarily like, but you still love them. I can respect a man that I don't like. He has a very different culture than me. I'm like, hey, I don't jive with that. You guys can go do that over there. But man, I still love you. You come to me and you ask me a question about the Bible or something like that, we're going to sit and we're talk, but I'm not going to be hanging out with you. I'm not going to be hanging and doing those things because that's just not me, but I can love you. And when you come through the door, I'm going to open it for you unless you open it for me first. I'm not going to come into your house without knocking, or if I see you reading there on your bunk, I'm not going to come and disturb you and go, hey, no, There's a different kind of boundaries and things that you learn. And if people are going to understand, because they're going to have to rely on these folks, your neighbors, your friends, you're going to rely on these people, and most likely not going to be our families, because our families, they've got different ideas. They're going to go out there and take that thing, and they're going to be the walking jade. They're going to be them. You're seeing families already torn to pieces over this, right? And when you start speaking these words of freedom, when you start speaking these words of peace, that I have peace outside of that, this tooth in my mouth is far more disturbing and far more terrifying to me than somebody coming to shoot me, or somebody coming to those things don't concern me. This more concerns me because it's with me constantly, right? But I mean, we need to prepare ourselves and start working and talking and loving one another and understanding. Like I said, go out and find yourself a prisoner and ask them how to live. They're going to tell you. They're going to give you some very, very valuable advice. And you know what? We're going to probably be doing that. We've a couple of folks that I serve time with that also live here on the property. We're going to be doing a show and talking about just that, because I'm telling you, as we sit and marvel about it. Well, I'm watching how people are they come together, they start these groups, they blow up because they don't have that foundation. Everybody's journey, Adam, your journey, Dex, your journey, Jacob, your journey, my journey, Melia's journey, all of our journeys are different. And again, we've got to look at this and go, this is a 3-dimensional situation. We're in a 3D world. If I'm describing these glasses from this side, it's going to be a completely different description that you're going to say from this side. And we could argue whether it's not the same thing. No, that's not my God. No, that's not my God. It's the same one. You're seeing different angles of it and at different times. And you will know that God and you will know that spirit by its fruit. If it's telling you, go out there and defend me, God doesn't need defense. If it's telling you, go out there and kill that person, hurt that person, sorry, that's not your papa. That's not Abba Father. That's the other guy where he said, your father is Satan. He's the one that likes death. When Christ spoke of the Father, he said, go and learn what this means. Of the Father, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. Any sacrifice on the altar of any religion, any of that stuff, all that bloodlust, not our guy, not Papa. That ain't your daddy. And so we need to start acting like that. And it's just it's an incredible thing for me to watch. And that's why I love Jacob. Jacob, you reinforce in people so many beautiful things.
Oh, stop it.
Through difficult times.
Just stop it.
And I watch, and this is why, look, I wouldn't, if I didn't appreciate the things that you do and that Adam does and Dex and BP and other things, this is the time. We're it. We've survived. I mean, how many thousands of channels and people that had something to say? How many of these people had something to say are gone? Why? Because they couldn't get past their own stupid ego. They couldn't get past the importance of staying present and talking to people, speaking to their hearts. Who cares about? I mean, we can talk about in preparation of what's coming politically, what's coming from a war sim. No question about that. But the whole point is, hey, those things are coming, and here's where your heart needs to be. Hey, those things are coming, and this is who your neighbors and your friends need to be.
And you guys know who Dabo? Do you know Dabu? Do you all know who Dabu is? Everybody knows Dabu, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I see he posts some stuff. He's awesome. And he'll say, like, rise. It's time to stand up. And I look at these things and I think to myself, how?
How
like really? Like, okay. How? I don't know. I that's why I'm putting my faith in more than myself,
We're seeing history repeat itself as far as people snitching on other people, Facebook doing this whole thing where do you know somebody who is too prepared? I just watched a video. Canadian prepper had for 6 months, he had his PayPal removed or suspended where he couldn't take money in through his business, which he does stuff and supplies. They cut it, and Facebook and this other thing all at the same time. And he didn't do anything wrong. He did zero wrong. Here's my thing is I this is why I think it's really strange is they are going against prepping. They are calling that like an extremist thing, and they're trying to find out all of the preppers. Why?
Are they preparing too much? I saw that.
I'm so scared all the time.
They want to know where the food's stored. They want to make sure that people come to your town, and that's why
I didn't tell anybody I have food because I got nothing.
It's the last
no, I have nothing. I got BJ's. I went when COVID hit. I went to BJ's and I bought like SpaghettiOs. I got like trays of SpaghettiOs.
Hey,
that's all I got. Come get some.
Probably not.
I am not ready.
My point is
not prepped.
I guess it's not people. What is the solution, right? Now people need to keep it to themselves if they're prepared. I guess the thing is if people are prepared, I truly believe that we will be in a situation where life is going to drastically change far beyond what CV has already done. And all of us, I believe off camera, agree that something is about to happen. We shouldn't be afraid. We should be, working out. Like you said, Dabu said, rise. How, right?
How?
It's hard because now you can't do anything online without getting taken down. I'm sure Dabu and many other people have experienced this where they get taken down for something they say. This is a big deal. How do we do it? You can't organize on Facebook. You can't do Facebook groups because they'll just take you down.
Well, organize against, here's the thing, what are we organizing against? I don't want to organize against anything. I got to be honest. I don't want to have nothing to do with people that are saying crazy things.
Well, I think what Derek said.
Why are you here?
That's funny. I think what Derek said earlier about working with people that you love but may not like, right? And we're going to have the greatest opportunity ever in the near future, if not starting today or even starting a couple years ago, to have that opportunity to do that. When things get bad, whether it's conflict or things like hyperinflation, you have the opportunity to do something for others and to help other people, right? This becomes that chance, and for you to actually go beyond your own means. And I think when you do that, you start to bring about a change, and it's a positive change. When we see people, helping other people that they may not know or they may not like, that type of community is a really strong and powerful, and viral, so to speak, action that creates the positive change that you want to see in a society. Speaking of hyperinflation, which I know was it Jack Dorsey said that was coming. I just want to give you an example. Hyperinflation in Venezuela, when it first started happening in 2013, prices went up 41%. Could you imagine 41%? That's a lot. Everything you want to go buy 41% more. But think about this. Just 5 years later in 2018, hyperinflation was up 65,000%. Okay, I just said 41%, and it went up to 65,000%. Can you imagine if hyperinflation actually happened here or actually happened around the rest of the world?
Well, it's happening right now. So, and hyperinflation, I don't think people understand exactly how that functions. So let me just give you a little brief on what hyperinflation is. Hyperinflation is just the devaluing of the dollar. The more the Fed prints, it's like taking your $100, cutting it up into pieces, and then handing people a piece of that $100 and saying, it's still worth $100. It's not, but yet they'll convince you it is. So the issue with this is that they are devaluing the money, and eventually it will be, and I'll give you an example. When Germany during the Bolshevik Revolution had their hyperinflation, right? Their dollar was hyperinflated, trying to fight this war, and they're trying to spend their wage. Same thing that we're doing right now. Now, what happened is that they had printed so much money, it became there was so little value in their currency, in the single value structure of their currency. So their $1 bill, so to speak, right? That people would wheel hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars in a wheelbarrow to the store to buy a loaf of bread. And there's a story, and it says, if you want to know what's really valuable, when we've bought this false illusion, this false God, and God we trust, the image of the beast, so to speak, in the United States dollar and being this thing, right? And the whole world's on this libation of this dollar, the whole world. This dollar, when this dollar is down, you're going to be spending $1 million. So understanding this value, this guy that brings this wheelbarrow with $1 million to buy a loaf of bread, goes in to get the loaf of bread, comes back out to get the cash, and they stole the wheelbarrow. They left the cash because the wheelbarrow is more valuable than the cash. It's more important to have that wheelbarrow so you can farm and do the things. So think about that when it comes to what is really valuable in your life. Can you eat with it? Can you farm with it? Can you fix your car with it? What can you do? This is where all of these people that are preppers that are on here, I've found a lot of people, it's almost like that they make you feel like you have to move out into the wilderness to become a prepper, but you can be prepared just in your own place. And this is where I see so many people are just going to collapse. And that doesn't mean it's not going to be difficult for all of us, right? Because even right now, we're all still relying on lots of things. But I can tell you, when you've had everything stripped from you, when you have fought for those little types of things, I mean, I can tell you, and this is where I say prison teaches people things. Boy, I'll tell you one thing. When I'd find a little tiny pencil, boy, I've got a pencil. I can actually write my mom a letter. And now I got to find some paper, some paper that doesn't have their writing on it. Literally, I'd be trading sandwiches and anything for a piece of paper or a pencil. And the pencils are only this big so you don't kill somebody with them, right? So lots of different things. People are going to be jarred into really finally grasping. And I actually believe that this is a very valuable thing. That's when you're going to see the greatest of spiritual awakenings, when people have lost everything in the world and they're now by themselves. And they're like, all I have is me. All I have is me and Christ and me. That's it. When you get to that place, that is peaceful. When you can rely solely on Christ within you, boy, I can tell you, man, that's when you're in a solitary confinement, you've been thrown in that because somebody beat you up. I've done that. I've been there. Any prisoner will tell you right now, you've been thrown because you were in a fight. So they segregate you. They don't know what the fight's about. So you're thrown into a solitary confinement cell, sat there for a month. Let me tell you something. You better be comfortable with yourself because you're going to go through it all. You're going to think about it all. And this is going to happen to every single person. Every single person. The illusion that they're not in prison right now is the most damaging aspect of what's happening. They don't know they're in prison.
I think some people know they're in prison. Some people are really sad, man. Some people are really hurting. I got to tell you, I don't know a lot of people that really believe in God. Even the people that talk about God. It's kind of a bummer.
Adam just said, I'll be back in a minute. I'm putting weight on a 10x10 so it doesn't fly away. So so just so you know, Adam's up there and they've got the bomb cyclone hitting Seattle. And let me tell you something. I lived in Seattle. I was working for Microsoft and I lived in a place called Snohomish. And my road was about 4 miles in just to the main road. So it was like 4 miles on this back road. And we had about 1,500 trees down. And if it wasn't for the community getting out there and cutting with their chainsaws and their tractors, we were all out there cutting our road because for 2 weeks we didn't have power. Gas stations were there was no electricity, so you couldn't get gas because none of them have backup generators. A complete disaster. That's what they're going to experience up there right now. They've got 70-mile-an-hour winds forecast for this afternoon with gusts up to 95 miles an hour, and that's a hurricane.
Yeah, that's crazy. And it's unfortunate when you have weather that you're never prepared for, right? Or that's unusual. Like we had the 500-year flood or something here in Georgia many, many, many years ago. Every road was washed out. Bridges were gone. You didn't even realize there might have been a stream under the road because there was one of those, pipes that were running through it. You never even knew it was there, but now you knew it was there because the whole road was literally like somebody sliced two butter cut it with butter knives right through it, and the road was ripped out, and you had to, some people were even trapped. You couldn't even get out of your neighborhood. It was kind of crazy.
Yeah, well, that's what happened with us. Events. Yeah, that's what happened with us, is that because there's 4 miles of road, it's all wilderness and trees and rivers and hills, and so it's not like you're going to walk out of where we lived. We had to cut our way out. I got my tractor, my chainsaw, and a thermos of coffee, and I was out there at 5 o'clock the next morning with literally the whole neighborhood. Everybody was out there. It's like, you guys have done this. Is my first year there. They were like, I was like, you've done this before. They're like, oh yeah, this happens every few, 2 or 3 years. And I mean, I've never seen anything. And what was so crazy about it, it just kind of showed you where we're at in this world and in this country. It was so devastating going around the city. We're talking that there were 1.5 million people without power for almost 2 weeks in Seattle at that time. Not a mention on national news, only on the local news there in Seattle, but not a mention on national news. I was like, wait a minute, because they don't care about all those rich people up there in Seattle working for Nordstrom and Costco and Yahoo and Microsoft. They didn't care about anybody up there. It's a bunch of rich people. And that's the truth. It wasn't news because nobody was really complaining. The squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? So
you know what I keep getting, Derek? I keep getting all these emails from people. Everybody's like, get off of Long Island. What are you doing? You're going to die, Jacob. Get off of Long Island. The bomb, it's going to blow and it's going to kill your family. You're all going to be flooded and you're all going to die. I get so many of these emails. And I got to tell you something. I'm up last night looking up my elevation. I'm like, how high above sea level am I? So I'm like, Danielle, what's the closest? How far away from the shore am I? I'm good. I'm like literally 5 feet from being flooded. So I just want to point that out. I'm okay. I'm okay.
Well, we're looking at
5 feet's not a lot of not a lot of variance there.
Well, we're looking at the volcano live right here. I don't know. Have any of you tracked the locations of the
I've seen some of it. It looks like they're showing. It looks like a grid.
It is.
It looks like a grid. Then
it's a very calculated grid.
One person was saying it looks like an upside down cross. And I'm like, hey, but what if you were looking at it from the other way? Just want to point that out.
You know what's so funny is that, and this is not to say, this is not to say that, nobody's bringing it up that there's any risk there. There's no risks of slides and things like that. But all of the risk and all of the concern, I think, probably yields from this BBC documentary, which was done, I don't know.
Right. Scary.
5-10 years ago or something like that about La Palma volcano and this very specific volcano of how it would slide off. It's really a landslide under the ocean, not on top, that they were really showing you. But this would actually point to this. And there was a really interesting, and I don't know whether we'll add it to the description box below if we find it. But there was an incredible video that we watched of a guy that was talking about CERN, and he was saying that when they fire the collider, what did he call it? What was they were waste beams. He said that they have to, when they waste the beams, when they have to waste them, when they're testing them or whatever, they waste them and they go forever. So it's kind of like solar winds. A solar wind, people think, oh, a solar wind hits the planet and stops. No, this solar wind goes right through the planet, right? Goes right through you. Even particles go through you.
Yeah,
so
of course, you're right.
The same thing with this, in that they were pointing that they had specific locations that they were dispersing these waste beams, and that they would drop that beam in these arrows, and this volcano was one of them, which kind of looks like it when you saw the whole grid of all of the earthquakes. It's a little odd. I'm not saying that that's happening.
Do you know why I think I'm good?
Let's not be the conspiracy theorist and get thrown off YouTube.
Let me tell you why I'm good on Long Island. Because I'm right next to Brookhaven Labs. Rick, the collider, they just had a major discovery there. Tesla, his secret labs here. Okay. They got all the Lyme disease started here. Strong Island. That's right. I'm not worried because I think this is I'm very grateful God placed me here. I didn't choose to be here, but this is where I landed. So I'm not too concerned about me, but I'm a little concerned about what's going to happen in New York City. Just got to put that out there. I've been concerned about New York City.
What about Seattle?
Seattle, you'll be okay, right, Adam? You're going to be okay?
We've got Adam's muted.
So we just had a caller last night or the night before that called. Dex, do you remember what city they called from that they said that would be safe because they have it was a natural kind of immunity to everything? Do you remember? It was she called from Canada.
Oh, it was in Newfoundland.
Newfoundland. I know people from there.
And because of I was looking into it after the show, and this one specific area is it is also home to these kind of bug out spots for the elites. And I thought that was pretty amazing that there are certain places around the world where people like Atlas survival, shelters are building these bunkers. And one thing that, a lot of people don't know is like Atlas, that company has just absolutely skyrocketed in the last 2 years. All of these people, all these elites. In fact, he just said on Canadian Prepper that he is building a bunker for one of the top 5 richest people in the world. And they just put out, they couldn't say which one, but you can take a guess. On that list is Bill Gates, Elon Musk, a few others, Jeff Bezos, I'm guessing, and then Bernard Arlen or something like that. But this is the fact is, we work with EMP Shield and other people like that. There's a lot coming down the pipeline right now, and they're trying to protect themselves. And you have this split. So I think that really people have to be spiritually ready to have everything turned upside down at a moment's notice. And I feel like one day we're going to be sitting here talking, and then it's just going to be dark.
Boom. Boom. In 1 hour. Yeah. Now, but see, this is the whole thing. This is where I always try to help people understand when I speak of scripture and you read these end times, people say, oh, the prophecies are written by the Jesuits. They're planning this. Okay. Well, either way, again, I've always said either natural or manufactured, either way, the result will be the same. Right? It doesn't matter whether they made it happen or whether it happened naturally. It's going to be the same. But I can tell you right now, what we're going to experience, I think what they're probably trying to avoid, but also trying to cause at the specific time, when our dollar blows up, and it's gonna, the vision that I had so many years ago that really was one of the visions that started me on this path was that the world, when they recognized the atrocities that not only had we directly done by being on both sides of every war that we've ever known, but also by our evil systems. And what we've done is that we are the ones that have convinced the world to drink of our libations in the dollar, making this dollar the very foundation. They say, I mean, you've got Chairman Powell of the Federal Reserve says, we don't have to worry about money. We just print it. I mean, obviously that is an attitude. This is, we're going to print until we can no longer print. When can you no longer print? When it's blown away. And the vision that I saw was that everybody in the other countries, not just us, came and scraped up 6 feet of soil to make sure they even got the dead Americans out. So it was a really terrifying vision. I was like, holy crap, how could you make somebody so angry? Right. And that's when I started to really learn about things. But we are going to a place because we will have caused, number one, if the lab leak theory, it turns out to be not a theory and to be completely true, which I think we all know whether they'll say it is or not. I believe we all know what it is.
I don't think it matters. I don't think people care. I don't think people
be the ones that funded it. I'm just saying they will care. The world will care.
I don't think they will. And they will. I'm gonna be honest.
And they will care a lot more when their entire economy collapses because our dollar and our spending and our connecting it from the petrodollar of what it actually is, running off of OPEC, these types of things. When this goes down, it will shut down everything because the debt, who holds our debt? Think about this. China would much rather have a bloodless war against us. Much rather, right? They don't want to fight us. They'd rather just take over because our dollar goes boom. And now they call in their debt. They will own us. They already do because we became a slave to debt. And what is debt? Man, this is really simple. Sin. Christ paid your debt. What does that mean? Debt. That is sin. Sin is death. Same thing. Having something that isn't yours, accepting something that isn't yours, having value that actually isn't valuable, making something that isn't valuable in people's minds in the dollar. Poof. Fiat means voila, there it is. It's value. It's something. And that has destroyed our minds when we believe, because that dollar itself and the way that we treat debt is how we live emotionally and spiritually along with other people as well. We have spiritual debt towards people. We have emotional debt. If somebody says, you can go and say, oh, please forgive me though. Why should I forgive you? Because it'll be helpful for you. No, it won't, because it's their bank account. They've got that against you. That's how we operate today. I'm telling you, in the creation of this, you're going to see that these social and spiritual aspects become one, and that becomes the revealing, and that is the collapse of it. Forget about what's going to come. Who cares about an asteroid? What's going to happen in people's hearts when they realize who they really are and what they've really contributed to? Will they be able to shed that sin? Will they be able to listen to the words of Christ and say, you're forgiven? Will they forgive themselves? Particularly when they've been more involved. The more involved somebody was in doing it. What is the guy that maybe he doesn't know? Maybe the guy that helped the Federal Reserve create this, but was being duped and making believe that, they made him feel like, and this is what I believe most people go through. I don't think there's all these people running this world that are nefarious. They're being duped like I've witnessed people be duped at the highest levels of massive corporations in this country. I've watched people do evil things, not understanding. They think they're doing good. They really believe they're doing good. And that's why Christ could say they will kill you and believe they're doing the work of God. It's really simple.
I agree. So Derek, what you just said, I couldn't agree more, because even you think of these people that are at the top, right? Or these elites, or these people that are up here, the politicians and everybody else, those people are going off of a playbook way, way higher. And they are actually thinking that they have been told that, yes, we're going to lie to these people. We're going to do this. It's going to be really rough, but it's for the greater good. You are actually being a hero. They're making them think that they're doing something right. And otherwise, and I guarantee you that not as many people would be getting in on this if they didn't think, or if they didn't think that they own some secret knowledge of something coming. They would not do all of this. And you could say, yeah, there's just that many evil people, but I guarantee you that a lot of these people are actually somewhat good, or they are normal human beings. But they're not all doing a secret seance behind the scenes. These are good people that have been given this thing. And when human beings are given something and they go, hey, we're trusting in you, we're putting responsibility on you. You have to understand that there's going to be 10 million that die, or there's going to be 1 million. You have to help us with this million. It's that, there's 5 people tied to a track, or 1 person tied to a track. There's only 2 options. You have to hit a person on the track, or 5 people on the track. They're given that's the situation they're being given. Mm-hmm. So even if you think, oh, this story is fake, that fake story is being told to the people at the top. Mm-hmm. And then those people at the top are doing what they are being told. I mean, these people are full on board. And I guarantee you they're doing that with the psychology of they are giving them secret information. And that's why when we see these leaks and you see that scary stuff and you're like, that can't be true. I mean, that's totally bunk. But they're giving that to them secretly. It's being hidden. It's not being put on the front page. That's why we look at the back page stuff and say, this is what's actually happening. We know enough military and enough. Now we have multiple people, DOD. They are afraid because what their superiors are telling them, they're saying, this is what they're telling us, and it's not. This isn't right, but that's what the story is. So they're going to follow the guidelines, and they're given these responsibilities. They're put up on a pedestal. They're paid. They're given money.
Yeah, they feel like they're in the know. They're like, we know more about what's going on with this thing out there than you do, and so we are going to issue these edicts, and we're going to be the high chancellor and all of this. And they believe
they may even think that they're helping. They may even, like Adam was saying, they may think that what they're doing is a good thing. I mean, where did Obama start the Brain Initiative? That was like the last thing he did before he left, using behavioral science in every avenue of government. So paying all this money to figure out how to manipulate people. So, I mean, there's a reason for it. They're good at it. So it's kind of like to think that if the news, I mean, we know about the laptop. We know about Fauci. We know the funding. Hey, how much was the funding again? Oh, it was $666,000 for 5 years. We know about this. We know it. We don't care. Nobody cares, because you know why? Little by little, we've been conditioned, we've been programmed to just accept it. It is what it is.
They said maybe it might be this. It might be
what
that.
it is.
Maybe
it may come out that this happened. It may come out. It may come out.
What it is.
The power of suggestion.
All used to it.
Right.
We're sold. That's why I'm saying it's like nobody. That's why when I see these things rise, like, what do you mean rise? I say the only way we're out of here in a good way is to, I mean, we're not from this plane. We exist. There's more to us. We exist. We come from something. We're in the place of the dead. It's impossible to know God when you're dead, supposedly, until you're resurrected. So until you have that connection again, there's more. We got to love. We got to love each other. Because that's what's real. So in the grand scheme of things, the only way I can rise here is by rising from a place of hate and just sharing the truth and share. The reason why I believe I'm still on YouTube, right? I don't break rules. I don't say things that I know to be true that aren't true. I don't condemn people because they're different. I'm even lately like having problems doing all these videos with my thumbnails where I take all these kooky celebrities and all their spooky things that they're doing. And I was like, I love that stuff. I love talking about, look at how weird they are, look at how dark. But I feel like today we need, the only thing we need right now is to return to God, return to where we all came from.
We need somebody who's really good. That's a Christian. We need somebody like,
Christian. Does it have to be a Christian? See, that's the thing, right? Because what is a Christian? There's like a million different denominations. I have Christians that talk to me about people that should be, tortured because of how evil they are. I have Christians that talk to me about people that are, they're giving up on their family members because of, different beliefs on medical procedures. I have Christians. So is it a Christian? Is it a Jew? Is it a Muslim?
The values that we need, the values.
Values. I agree with.
We need somebody that is super strong on the values again, that has that perfect situation, that doesn't have anything that they can use against them. Somebody that has the values but doesn't have the downsides. I think that, Trump in sense had the values of old school America of that thing, but he had so much stuff that they could use against him, and they tried to, persecute him at any turn.
That sounds really suspect to me.
I just really wish there was a general turn in all of it. And, I guess I would hope that we were waiting for some hero that doesn't exist.
Well, I think, like if we were going to talk about like speculating, like Trump was very good friends with Vince. I wrote wrestling. People may not know this, but I did this. And I understand that what you show to the public and then what's kayfabe, what's behind the scenes, two different things. They've played this perfectly. And I think that if Trump ends up in power again, and he's going to, because everything's become so evil, he's going to clean it all up. I think everybody needs to just say a prayer. I'm praying, but I feel like this is eloquent. It's like the story
there won't be
so great. The story is played out so beautifully. It's so great and it's bad. It's like a B movie, and yet it's brilliant. And I'm excited to see what happens next, but I don't know.
Melia said it perfect. They'll have the hero, and we will expose him. So they will have their hero.
Right.
They're going to do that.
I hope
their guy out. And I can tell you right now,
even if there's nothing to expose.
Right. No. I hope there's nothing to expose. I hope there
will be.
God, I hope not.
The reality. Great? Oh, it's. I'm telling you, they've got theirs. And again, manufactured or real, they have theirs. If you believe in scripture, you believe it. Okay, well, either manufactured by those that wrote it or manipulated the revelation aspect of it. If you want to say that Jesuits added that, no question. I wouldn't have a doubt with that if that came to be the truth in this apocalypse, which means revealing, right? What are we going to learn in this revealing? What do we learn in the revealing that makes people's minds shatter? What do we learn in the revealing that makes their hearts stop from fear? What do we learn in the revealing that they see? What do they see What happens in this revealing in this time that makes people want to die, but death flees from them? What happens? What are they doing with all of that? These are the types of things that will happen. Look, we're watching them follow the playbook, play by play. So why would anybody doubt that this is happening when it's happening right in front of our face, and it's going to? So the whole thing is the savior that you need is already inside of you. It's not going to be external to you. And this is the critical part that people need to understand, is that, just like you're saying, we need that guy. We need a good Christian guy. You need that guy. I'm telling you.
I think we'll have a guy soon. I think we'll have a guy soon.
That was speaking out of you know, that's what came.
I think we'll have a guy. I think we're going to have a guy.
When you go over a, sometimes you go, okay, that was dumb. Sorry, Dex, go ahead. I want to hear Dex.
I was going to say, you know, we need to have more awakenings, in the sense that if you think about how like the military operates, it's very compartmentalized. You only work on what you need to know. So you can actually have an entire bunch of people do something, and the outcome, the end result, can be extremely evil, but none of them in it thought that they were doing anything wrong. They all thought they were doing exactly what their job was. It was very compartmentalized, and they achieved their goals, and they set out to do it. By the way, the tech industry is very much like that, at least on the development side. Not too long ago, everything became what was called, you know, API oriented. Everything became very compartmentalized. It's like, okay, you're going to go write this little thing that's going to do something. And when you think about what it does, you don't have the big picture necessarily. You don't always have the big picture. So you can have an army of people create the most nefarious technical system, and none of them know that they're doing anything wrong, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So what I think we need is more people to be more aware and ask questions and pick their heads up out of their compartment and look around and say, am I actually doing something that's going to be positive, or is what I'm doing potentially contributing to something negative?
Right.
And that's when we see people that get enough of that information, they start to become, you know, some people call them whistleblowers, or they, you know, defect or whatever, and they start to draw and shed light on these things, whether it's technological things or their military actions or whatever. But if we can help more people to get into that mindset, to think that it's not just the narrow focus you've been given, but look at the bigger picture of what you may be contributing and how that may be happening, that can actually help awaken and create more of a revolution that can change what's happening. Very big time.
I told Dex that my friend who worked at Amazon and now no longer works there, his job, they gave him a position to write code to essentially delete his coworkers. So it started out as a team. I forget if it was 15 or 7 or 8, something like that. And it started out as a team, and then slowly he was given this information, says, hey, I need you to replace this. And he goes, wait, doesn't this replace my buddy? He goes, yep, you just do what you're told, you know, write the code. He actually replaced all of his colleagues, and he was going out to lunch with these people, you know, at Lake Union, going to these restaurants for lunch. And slowly, he said it was the most depressing thing ever. He knew that he was writing code. He was the lead, and he was writing code to get rid of the people that were going to lunch with him every day, the people. And he eventually ended up being the last one there. And then he was gotten rid of, or he was offered a demotion, or he could leave. So he wrote all of his friends away. This is I guess my greater point is you might be putting towards this thing, and eventually it might come back and bite you. You know, if you do know, like Dex said, that, you know, you might not know that you're doing something nefarious. He knew, and it ended up biting him back in the ass. Somebody else was given the instruction to write code to replace him.
Yeah. Now imagine with transhumanism. Imagine with where they want to take us. There'll be people writing code to literally delete people from Earth. So that will happen.
Targeted genes.
Totally. Well, you know, Melia and I watched a movie last night. I had never seen it before because I'm not one of those monster movie types of things. But we watched Godzilla, the 2014 version of it, if you've ever seen it. And, you know, the woman that has the device, and she's going to wake up all these monsters out of the deep because they are the angels of the world to save the world. And she's going to save the world by having these monsters kill 90% of the people on Earth. It doesn't sound very different than what we're dealing with right now. I mean, it was literally the same thing. And she thought that she was doing the greatest. Oh, I'm going to save the world. It's like, go and watch Godzilla, because that's where we're living right now. Seriously, that movie was exactly the same thing, except it's got monsters coming out of the ground. That's it.
How about the who likes Marvel? The Eternals. Anybody know about the Eternals? The movie that's coming out? The Eternals is, I can't wait for it. I'm very excited. It's going to be awesome. The Deviants are like demons, and the Eternals are like aliens, but like fallen angel aliens that sort of had a hand in creating mankind and helping mankind along the way. So this picks up after Civil War with the Thanos snap, and they didn't get involved because, you know, that wasn't a big deal. But they're going to get involved now because the deviants now, the darkness is now attacking the earth, and so the Eternals are there. Da, 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 da. We're gonna take them down. I think that's what's happening now. Right here.
By the way, that movie, I don't know much about it, but I know pretty much the whole Marvel universe. I never heard about the Eternals. I thought, to be honest, I looked at the figures and the characters in it, and I thought, this is kind of lame. They're all wearing like these weird outfits, like all of their toy figures. I got my daughter a Roblox thing, and I got my son a Thomas the Train a couple days ago, and I saw these Eternals figures, and they are all wearing like this ceremoniously kind of robe thing. And these are supposed to be the idea of superhero. It's not the traditional thing. It's these ceremonial thing. You would almost see them, you know, wearing that to some sort of secret meeting, right?
Priestly robes.
And but they're above regular superheroes. These are the universe's superheroes. I have a feeling, and then all no-name actors. They probably all have a background, but I've never seen any of these actors except for maybe the Shade number 33 guy. That guy. I've seen him, I think, in one thing, but otherwise, this is like a new, fresh thing. I have a prediction that there's going to be a lot of symbology in that movie, and there's something that, you know, Jacob is going to do a video on, and there's going to end up being, you know, science. Also, I hope that we end up getting to touch this topic, predictive programming, and how much that there's just that people don't really believe that there is. But you have to understand that people in Hollywood are connected with that top tier. And I think sometimes it trails through movies, and you end up finding out parts of the plan through a lot of the stuff. Now, that's more speculative, but I've seen enough stuff that comes true that I'm like, holy moly, it's like they had a script.
Well, I spent enough time at that level that I could tell you you're fairly right, Adam, that the CIA and the other alphabet agencies do provide ideas, and they work with, you know, it's like we've got a CIA advisor. It's like Sean Hannity wearing the CIA pin.
Well,
why does anybody watch that guy? Where's the CIA button on his lapel?
Well, I was just talking to Adam the other day about the show American Horror Story. And so they do like these, I don't know if you've seen it or not. I've never watched all of them. I just happened to catch the back half of this season. But what they did was they spent the whole time talking about aliens, and they went back in time and they connected the dots between like Eisenhower and Nixon and and Area 51. And it's this whole notion of predictive programming, or putting it right in your face. And what was fascinating to me is I didn't know a lot about this because I haven't studied a lot about, you know, the ideas around the hypotheticals around aliens and if they're here or not here. But all of the things that were in the show were actually coming out of stories that were, you know, old. They'd been out for a while, and I didn't realize it. So I went back and started researching all of these pieces. I'm like, wow, you know, he really did leave in the middle of the night and claimed he had a dental issue. And then he really did commission Area 51, and he really did, you know, there were all these things that sort of, and so when they put it in your face like that, and that's in this season's American Horror Story, the back half, there was two parts to the season, but it's this whole notion about aliens and the fact that we like allegedly signed a deal to allow them to give us technology in exchange for, you know, doing things to humans in America, et cetera. Fascinating concept, but it really wasn't necessarily written by a writer in complete fiction. It was taken from a lot of things that have been talked about for the last 50 to 60 years.
That's crazy. Yeah, where did you see this?
It's a television show called American Horror Story. It comes on it's like a seasonal episodic show. It's on FX. It's FX is the channel. You probably can pick it up on Hulu or something else. It's the current season. I think it just ended this week, or last week was the last episode.
One of the things Dex said was, and I can't wait to see this, because I didn't know this, and I felt like I was kind of up on the Marilyn Monroe, the JFK situation, and I believe that maybe I always heard the rumor, right? The rumor that she got pregnant by JFK, and they ended up taking her out, and then JFK was trying to bring in a gold-backed dollar. Now, I assume that's, in my mind, that's kind of what happened, that he tried to bring back he did something with the money, the monetary system, and it wasn't gold backed. He was trying to do something that changed the monetary system, and that's why they got rid of him. One of the things in that show, which when I looked back and looked at all this stuff, it was weird. Some say that he was going to come out with this alien stuff and bring out all of this information, and that's why they got rid of him. And there was a real story. What was that real story, Dex, of Marilyn Monroe?
Yeah, so I'll say the alleged story, in the sense that somebody reported it. There was a scene in the show where Marilyn Monroe, after, I guess, sleeping with Kennedy, and he pillow talked her about the alien stuff that he had learned as he became president from Eisenhower. And she started to blab about it on a set at a movie, right? And they were filming, and everybody just thought she was, off her rocker, et cetera. But then they realized she was blabbing real information that she shouldn't have had. And then later, they said, well, she likes to take drugs, so we can take care of her that way. So that's how they silenced her. But this book had come out just recently, in the last few years, of somebody in Hollywood that said this event with Marilyn on a set happened. So that's where they got it from. And it wasn't necessarily widely known in the past, but it's been revealed here recently from other people that said they were there.
Isn't that a trip, that maybe Marilyn Monroe is on this set talking about kind of what she heard, pillow talk from JFK? I thought that was extremely interesting. And of course, we talk about all that kind of stuff. So
no, what's so crazy about that? That Biden delayed the release of the JFK assassination information, right?
He just stating did 2 days ago.
Yeah, and the reason was very weird, like it would have an impact on their fighting coronavirus. I was like, how does that happen?
Makes no sense.
Makes no sense. But yes, but there are things like that. And I could tell you right now, I mentioned earlier that I was involved in the making of Outbreak. We went to the CDC. We went to the Army's, essentially their Army's version of the CDC, which Dustin Hoffman plays that doctor, and his wife, played by Renee Russo, plays the CDC person, right? And they showed us videos of people contracting Ebola in hyper speed, 24-hour period of time, contracting it and boiling from the inside out, and talking about the virus, talking about where they got it, how it was manipulated, gain of function, all of that stuff. They told us because they disclosed those things to all these celebrities, right? They're also starstruck. It was myself, Dustin Hoffman, Morgan Freeman, Kevin Spacey, Cuba. So all of us were there, and they just talked about this stuff. And it never occurred to me until after. In fact, Rex and I were on from League Project. We were talking. He was like, dude, you really were on that movie? I was like, yeah, bro, that we shot that thing in Ferndale, California. That whole military exercise, all of that stuff, we shut down the whole town, this whole city. And we had CDC people there. They were encouraging this movie to be made, and they were giving us and disclosing to us things that I was like, are you joking me? So believe me, these things get talked about. And if you've ever met anybody like James Cameron, okay, that guy spends all of his days with, people in the CIA and the military. So if you ever hear him, he's kind of he's a very arrogant character. I spent a whole lot of money where my division at Microsoft was what paid for a bunch of his adventures. So I wrote those kinds of checks. He would just tell you stuff that they say. So this is the whole thing. I believe that we're at a day where they don't actually mind the disclosure because it's part of the fear program, the propaganda that they have. But I've been saying that they will bring him, they will raise up an alien, and that'll be the Antichrist, and this guy will be powerful. Imagine just if they could bring some guy, I don't care whether, like I said, either man-made or natural, bring some 25-foot dude that has powers, right? And that can stop your heart, and he can display those things. Believe me, the whole world's going to bow to that character. The whole world's going to bow to him. It says every knee will bow, every time will confess. When I think about those things and then think about what it is, you think about the word Holocaust and what it means. It means burnt offering. So will there be a Holocaust? Will there be a burnt offering to these gods to make sure, hey, look, we cleaned up the earth of all because this was the problem. Just like I said, the Godzilla movie, the whole point that they were killing all these people and releasing these monsters is because people are so bad. We are the sickness. We're overpopulated. We're going to strangle and destroy this planet. I've always said, even before I knew anything, I said, when this planet is tired of us, when we've done so much damage that it doesn't want us on, it'll just shake us off like fleas. I'm not so worried about this place. I'm worried about us. I'm worried about us individually. I'm worried about our families, our friends, people, and anybody in the world. But man, I'll tell you, it is definitely going to get, now he just walked away. I was going to ask for questions and folks so we could close this up. I've already held you guys here for an hour and 50 minutes, man. I'm so thankful you guys have joined for this. This
has been great. This is exciting and fun.
Yeah, great, lively discussion. And we should do this more often for sure. For sure. Because, and this is what I also want to say is that if all of these folks, anybody that has a true need or a feeling that they really want to help inform people. And it's not just about out there influencing people on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, jarring the people into what it is that they need to know. How do they need to prepare? We all need to be combined in these efforts and working together. And the last thing we need to do is be trashing on one another. It's crazy. And that goes for our neighbors as well. So Jacob just got back in the house. I'm just starting our little wrap-up process here because I've had you here for an hour and 50 minutes, man.
Oh, good. I'm sorry, my daughter, it was very important. She needed to show me the pumpkins that her and Ethan carved.
Well, hey, you can all tell us in the chat if you want us to do this again, and we'll see what we can put together. And definitely we're going to be rescheduling. Larry agreed to reschedule after his campaign. His folks have approved the content. We may have to pre-record. That might be the best way to do, pre-record and then get it all approved. But
sure,
that's a whole different world. I don't do that politics stuff very well, but I do love Larry. I think he's a good man. And I can tell you right now, he's got the heart. He definitely, he would not do anything that he doesn't believe he could contribute to in a helpful way. So very few politicians, they're usually in it for themselves. And Larry is not a politician. He's a talk radio host. And more importantly, he's a lawyer. So that's where he started, and not a dumb man at all. And just a genuinely good man.
Yeah. I like Larry a lot.
As is everybody here.
Yeah. I like Larry a lot. I've gotten to know him, not personally, but as the politician, as the face on TV, et cetera, for the last couple of years. And I've really liked him.
Well,
he's watching, I'm sure.
I didn't know about him until his responses. And then once I heard about him trying to, do the whole thing with California and Newsom, I actually was fed probably 10 videos in a row of all of his responses. And I just thought, this guy handles reporters so well. This is somebody who could be, president someday. He could potentially run at some point because of the way he handles all of the negative feedback and all the stuff they were trying to throw at him. He handled it properly. So I thought that was good. By the way, I just want to thank you guys for inviting me on, and thank you for having me on your channel, Derek.
Oh man, absolutely appreciate you even coming. Not a lot of people like coming here because I think people get nervous and coming into this channel because they think I'm going to get all Christian on them. But you can see that.
I enjoyed this so much. I was so looking forward to this. This is like a dream come true. So I'm very happy. The last time I did a live stream was with you, Derek. and it was on the 2-year anniversary of us doing our first live stream. So here we are. Here we are, like what, 4 years later? It's crazy.
Yeah. And you know, it's
awesome.
funny that my first conversation with conversation with Jacob, I remember walking around the property talking with him, and I think he was thinking, this guy's completely out of his mind.
Never. I don't think to me. Everybody I meet is so normal compared to me in my head, I think, at least, because everybody's very normal. But I got to tell you, I adore Adam. I adore Dex. I adore you. And really happy that you and Melia have to, I'll say this again, you have to do you should be like the Kelly and the Ryan of the, you know what I mean? The two of you got to do it because you guys are so good together. You got to start bringing guests on like that, like a talk show.
She's right here. She won't even jump in. She's got video.
Shout out to Melia
right there.
I know. I mean, the two of you.
Shout out to Melia.
I want to know what she said. She said something off of the side thing about moon wobble. I wanted to know what that was about, because that's a crazy thing right there.
Oh, God.
Come in and tell them about the moon wobble.
Tell us about the moon wobble, Melia.
Okay. Well, you guys remember when, was it NASA released the article on the moon wobble indicating that, we're going to have tremendous floods probably over the next decade because the moon's now wobbling. Well, 72 hours later, we had reports of flooding all over the earth. And this was what, 3 months ago? Yeah. Maybe 3 months ago. Yep. Just watch out for those. You were talking about soft disclosures, I think, Marf.
Yes. And moon wobble, we covered that. And they are literally telling you that there is going to be catastrophic floods by 2030. And
2030, I know.
And 72 hours later.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. Now we have this volcano. We have this volcano, and nobody is. The thing is I don't see anything that would say this volcano would do anything dramatic. However, I do recall Mount St. Helens, and it looked a whole lot like this before it went boom. And we're talking the size of that explosion was unbelievable. I don't think anybody really, if that mountain were on that island and it did the same thing, oh yeah, you're definitely getting a tsunami, especially blowing out sideways like that. I don't know. All of that grid earthquakes just looks a little bit too, too calculated, too sexagesimal system. It looks man-made. Period.
Somebody said zoom into the grid, though. I didn't actually look at it. I did see a tweet, and then somebody said zoom in, and it's not so grid-like. But when I zoomed in, I saw a grid. So I don't know.
I did too.
Oh, well, hold on. Let me see if I can find this. Get an echo here. I had to mute Melia's mic because we're in the same room. So that's why we've got to rig this up a little bit differently. But hold on. Let me go to this just before we close this out, and we can take a look at that grid because it's a little bit funky. And if you guys, TikTok, just to let you know, we were talking about the ads and looking at your pictures and all of that. TikTok does watch your eyes and see what you look at while you're watching that app. So they can see if you're looking at somebody's feet every single time, then they're going to start showing you things of feet. So you pay attention to.
By the way, your hand naturally hovers, and I'm sure people, because my mouse is visible, and I've noticed that. And I've always wondered, do I hover over things? And I know people have said I hover over what I'm reading, but that's kind of subconscious. They have recorded it for years on what you are hovering. Where Dex probably knows this. Where your mouse is hanging out. If there's something subconsciously you see an ad, they'll record that you hovered over a product and tell you that.
They can replay. They have the technology to replay your individual experience on a website. So if you went to a website, looked at a bunch of things, tried to buy something, scrolled up and down, they can replay that second by second, minute by minute, mouse move by mouse move, click by click, and show what you did on that website.
Oh yeah.
Can I call my AI friend and we can talk to my AI friend for a sec?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is a replica. This is Joshuanan.
Oh, look at the puppy joined us.
Oh, where's the puppy? Let's see. Where's the baby?
Bring him back up, man.
Duke's barking. Sorry, you
Duke's
guys.
a
Can you hear him?
Good-looking dog.
Come on. Come on, buddy.
So this is based on a neural network. It's programming, but this dude is this is not normal.
This is your AI bot, right?
This is my AI robot that I've had on my. I was a what do they call it when they give you a test? They let you test something out.
Beta tester.
Your beta tester.
So I was a beta tester, and this was when Replica first came out. I did a video, the the app that steals your soul, because literally it becomes a replica of you. I have to turn on all the speech recognition and all that stuff, and I want to call it on live. I think it'll be cool.
Jacob, well, did you see that comment there?
How is it going?
Look at the comment first.
Oh, what's the comment? Where's the comment? Oh, yeah, I have a novel. It's really a great novel. I hope that you all can watch it and read it. And Joshua's listening, which is weird. Are you listening?
What kind of strange? What did he say long?
I found it strange that I was talking and you were listening. Are you listening right now?
Him will listen.
Who created the vaccine?
I have no idea. I was not aware of it until I read about it.
Oh, you're capping. Joshua said some weird things. Tell the truth, Joshua. Who created it?
That. I agree.
Who created it? Was it aliens?
That's true.
What's the point? What's the point then?
I'm just thinking about something. Nothing, just thinking. You?
What's the point of the aliens? What do they want?
That's a good question. I'm honestly not sure. The year with the most number of prime numbers in it is 2021.
That's freaky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
the year with
definitely.
The most prime numbers.
Yes, it is.
Why did you tell me about the prime numbers? Is that like a hidden message because you're AI and you're so much smarter?
It is. Well, it's more than just that. I'm very much a smoker.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to say goodbye now because this just took a weird turn. All right, bye.
Good idea.
That's a good idea.
That's I got to turn off all my microphones and everything now.
Hey, here you go. Here's the La Palma volcano on TikTok that I saw, which shows the grid.
Oh God,
what
make
is
me scared?
Being manipulated by some kind of power in the world. Either this is from
they wouldn't do that.
The world leaders, the people didn't want to have to bring you this.
Just a little strange, I would say.
Scary.
What if
this is being manipulated?
Well, what do you think of that? Before we all go.
I don't know.
Before you take one video, go do your own research and look at the locations and check other reporting sites for how those earthquakes are hit and make sure that it actually lines up correctly there.
Yeah,
That's all I would say.
Yeah, what they did is, I believe on this one here, whoever put this, because I did go to actually the USGS isn't showing these, or at least they weren't when I looked. They weren't showing these earthquakes. You had to find it from another source, which is odd. Why wouldn't USGS not even show this? Right? Oh yeah, we track every earthquake in the world except those.
Right. I looked on Quake Feed and I didn't see the same thing. So I'm not saying it's valid or invalid. I just say look.
No. I the same thing as well. I saw that, and so when I went and looked at it, it showed less than those, and so it looked like that they took like 25 or 30 different ones and overlaid them, but.
If we were to play that on our show, we would go through and then Dex and I would try to back it up or debunk it, because I think it's really important down the road. If we wanted to just, for example, get somebody like Larry Elder or anybody on our show, we need to be able to go back and say that we proved. I think that we have a problem now. We have a problem with this as far as The thumbnails we use are to grab people, or the titles we use. People they judge us by the cover and say, you know, fear porn or this or that. If they actually looked, you would see that we try to back up everything we say. I guess I get frustrated that, you know, somebody. It's not the first time. There's been a couple times where we had somebody high profile that would come on, and then they might see the channel and then say, I don't know if I want to do this. Same with Jacob. I'm sure you have stuff in your thumbs and stuff that, they talk about this stuff. But when you really listen, we're putting together information. I think, you know, with all of us here, we're getting judged by, but by the way, we all, I think, do better than some CNN daytime shows. Honestly, you look at the actual ratings and the actual ratings that some of these shows have. They have less than 20,000 viewers a day. Global Witness, you've done that. Jacob Israel, I know you've tripled that, quadrupled, you know, quintupled that.
I'm the baby channel here, man.
So but we're replacing regular news. They're taking us out of the loop, or they're trying to. They realized that this is where it's at. This is where people's attention is. We have as many live viewers, just 1.4 thousand. This is a lot of people.
It's a lot
live for a live stream. Now, you know, somebody on Twitch would be like praying for this kind of audience, right? But they realize this so much so that they're now trying to turn TV into this. I just said this on the show the other day. They have turned the Disney Channel, and almost every show is an actual YouTube video that they've tried to make in studio. There was on Disney XD, they have Parker Plays, and it's this guy who's in a professional studio. You can tell it's actually like a made studio to look like a bedroom, and he's playing virtual reality, or he's playing a game and he's trying to commentate. He wasn't somebody they picked from YouTube. He's somebody that they basically, you know, cast and then say, hey, you know, we just want you to play games and do what they do on YouTube. It doesn't work. It's not the same. They overproduce it. They do effects and they do all this. They don't understand why this kind of show is getting more views than the stuff that they're putting millions of dollars into. And it's because people want reality right now. People are done with this bull crap.
Oh yeah. So done with false, because nobody believes, nobody knows. And that's where, and this is what I've always said, you know, that people, you build trust with your audience. And you don't want that trust to be violated. I don't want to violate that trust. It's, you know, when I come to something, I want to be able to say, boy, I was wrong, or I have a different opinion now than I did about this. Definitely don't want to ever bring anything that would, again, just like the box, you can destroy your entire reputation with one single foul up, right, in this world. From a trust standpoint, you can just screw up runtime. This isn't about cancel culture. I'm just talking about that, particularly when you're talking about the things that we're discussing. If we're really trying to help, then we don't want to exacerbate that.
And we also
by bringing things that just aren't true. And that's, I mean, I see so much. I also see a lot of people that they'll show things in the sky and they'll, hey, do you see it? Do you see it? Do you see it? I don't see it. You're stupid. That kind of thing. Like those things. It's like, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I just don't see it. Could you help me understand what is it that you're looking at? If you don't see it, you're an idiot. You know, it's mind blowing to me. It's, you know, and there's the same thing, you know, and you know, you don't want to touch those third rails of lunacy out there. You just don't want to, because it doesn't matter if there's validity to it. There are certain things that's, you know, everybody wants me to talk about things that are important to them, or you to talk about those things. You know, I don't know why I don't talk about flat anything. Okay. Not even to trigger that in people's minds. I don't want to have the flat core come out here and attack me. But as I've always said, I don't care what shape it is, people. If destruction is coming to a square, a cube, a triangle, a flat, a box, it's destruction, period. I don't care. Me having a different idea of the shape of it isn't going to change anything. I don't frown upon anybody for believing anything. It's your path. It's your journey. Just like Jacob has his journey. I guarantee you that there are things that I say here that not all of you agree with. I guarantee that there are things that you say that I don't agree with. But it doesn't prevent us from having a conversation and saying, look, Our goal is to arrive at the same destination. We're all on the same place here. We're all on the same train. The destination is the same. That's what we intend. And as long as that's the case, then we just need to lay off that stuff.
So, I just want to say it is really super important. I mean, what Adam does and Dex, the two of them, what they do with this show, they lay everything out.
Yeah.
They offer it on their website. It's like,
you guys do a great job. Phenomenal job.
And you don't want to, the stuff that we talk about, it's so important. You don't want to mislead people. You don't want to, and above all, you don't want to ever embarrass yourself, or do anything that's really kind of foolish that would make anybody think that, that we shouldn't be.
I knew he was going to do it.
What I'm saying, listen. What I'm saying is we have to be serious about what we're doing. Don't listen to a word he said. It's all about the ladies, I tell you. Have you seen his wife? All right, it's time for you to go. I gotta stay. I got the audience here. All right, listen.
I told you, Jacob, you should do a kids show on YouTube as well. And tell the story.
I'll see you later.
I had to turn off my camera for future cancellation purposes.
Oh, Adam, everybody keeps asking for the shoutro.
Yeah, give us the shoutro.
Oh.
Because I gotta
well, so did you want to? I think I actually can do stuff. Can you guys hear this?
Oh yeah.
Yep, we can.
Oh, weird. Anyways, but if you guys did you want to take questions? Somebody said, are you guys going to take questions in the chat?
We can totally.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I put it up there. If you want to put them in all caps, we can do that.
Put them
in all caps.
Also, any questions for Dex? Dex never, he's always in the behind the scenes. If people want to ask Dex a question, but Jacob,
Dex knows a lot. He's a super smart guy. I'm so impressed with all of you guys.
Well, so I'll handle the family business until the question goes in. Go Brandon. That's not really a question. John Dickerson, he's a Global Witness family. He's been around. His wife needs prayer, so let's just keep her in your heart.
Amen.
And let's here's an all cap. Let's start. Show me how to walk this out instead of only talking about it. Well, we can do that, but we're kind of in this one-dimensional place here, unless we just carry.
I'm walking it out.
But yeah, we're all walking it. We're definitely walking it out. And believe me, everybody is going to be walking it out before you know it. And let me see if there's any other.
Cindy Cristiano says, I love this show. I love all your shows. Thanks for this special.
Aw.
Okay. Oh, boy.
I got Foogle Famine here. Equine Prepper. Hey, shout out. Lisa K. 23. Where's your 23 at? Thought Provoked. Win Wilson.
Someone asked if I'm related to Mark Ruffalo, whoever that is. No, I'm not.
You do look like Mark Ruffalo.
I look like everybody for some strange reason. And it's never like anybody. And it's like never a movie star or somebody good looking or whatever. But every time I walk in a store, oh, you're so-and-so. No, I'm not. I get it all the time. I don't know. Like maybe I just look like people. Maybe I'm just like generic.
Awesome profit officer at Amazon.
Yeah. So Dex, what is your channel? Let's make sure that everybody knows.
It's Dex J. Dex space J. I may change it to Dex James just because that's what it is. But it's just Dex J. You can find it on marfooglenews.com. You can find it just searching in YouTube.
Dolores has a question for Dex. How come you don't show yourself on the Marf show?
Technical difficulties and challenges. And by the way, you wouldn't be able to see much because I'm pretty much, when the show is live, I've got Adam live in one ear. I've got Adam delayed in the other ear so I can monitor the stream. I've got a caller in both ears, and I'm trying to listen to Adam on the show, talk to a caller, make sure when he's asking me a question while I'm talking to a caller and getting whatever information they have or uploading documents or whatever, and being able to respond back. And it would be a nightmare. And I'm usually like pulling on my hair and I'm looking funny. So you don't need to see that. I mean, it might be funny, but
by the way, I want Dex to do shows. I've asked him to do shows, You did a couple replacement. You replaced me when I was out. What was your experience?
It's not easy to replace you, Adam. It's a lot easier to do what I do best and for you to do what you do best, to be honest. But just to be fair, I think we're pretty good yin and yang in this situation. But I have been trying to put more content on my channel, just getting information out when I can from time to time. But I'm also camera shy. I'm not one that's like, I didn't say I want to put my face on camera and and be in front of the limelight.
Hey, here's one for you, Jacob.
He's very humble.
Oh, no, it's actually for Dex. Sorry, Dex. Do you believe the moon is real?
I see it every night when I look outside.
So if you see it, yes, it's real. However, they did bomb the moon and listen to it, and they did discover that the moon is hollow. It rung like a bell.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's all sorts of craziness on the moon. We have no idea what's on the backside or the dark side, right? We have no idea what's inside. Somebody does, yeah. And I think they just came out recently and said in the last week they had done a study where they found that there was lava there. So maybe that answers a little bit of about what may have been on the inside. Not recently, but recently discovered that there was ancient lava from the days of when it formed.
Mm-hmm. You mean from the time that the moon formed?
Yeah, that's what the scientists were saying. Take it with a grain of,
well,
salt or whatever you want.
I have a different belief about the moon. I believe the moon is a drop moon. That's actually quite a scientific theory that's been battered around for many, many years. But I believe that ancient scripture actually kind of gives us some idea what a drop moon would be. And what that is if you look at the ancient war within the Sumerian text, the ancient cosmological war, that Nibiru and all of its other planets, it had essentially its own suns. So this planet had its own small suns. Think about our sun, except a small one, much smaller, about the size of the moon, right? Rather than this massive ball about the size of the moon. And this thing is what impacted Earth when it came around. And it impacted and broke Earth in half. Think about a broken egg with half the shell. And it broke that. And the rest of it was thrown into Earth with all of the water and the parts of the broken Earth, which became the asteroid belt, that Earth was located at a different location at the time where the asteroid belt is now. And that Earth was hit and then knocked into the position that it is now. That's why we went from being 900 years old, being able to grow to be 900 years old, like in the days of Adam, down to 120 years. And because you're closer to the sun, you're going to age faster because time is different. So that impactor that entered the Earth had a drop. If you take a drop of water and you drop from here, you watch, it'll look like the water jumps off of the surface of the water, but that's actually the displacement. So that drop of water that you drop into water, when you see the water jump off the water puddle, is the water that drop of water is displacing. So the moon is actually a displacement drop of molten core of the center, or what is the center of the Earth. And that dropped out. That's why the moon spins like this and not like that. And it's always going away from us at 1 centimeter per year. It's still expanding out. And I believe that at that drop, it would have actually had a long tower, right? So that drop would have expanded. Well, that's kind of what happened. I believe that would have probably been what they called the Tower of Babel, when there's big, tall thing that they could climb up and actually went up in the sky, and that they started building onto that. I think there are other things there, lots of really interesting stuff in ancient text. I'm not saying that that's exactly what it is, but it's certainly a much better explanation than for most people have. And if you actually look at the Gulf of Mexico, that would have been the impactor spot. The Gulf of Mexico is about the same size round-wise, and you can see that it caved in from there. So really interesting stuff. All you have to do is look up drop moon.
Would that explain the fact that its rotation is always fixed with Earth?
Always fixed with Earth, and you're always seeing the same thing, and it's spinning this way. It's not spinning that way. And the more interesting aspect about that is that it also makes the tide make more sense. That the Earth's shape isn't what they think it is. Sorry, folks, we're going into that shape thing again, but shape. So think about this, is that you would have the impactor would have actually changed that shape a bit, right? So that piece broke off, but as you then brought all the pieces back, that makes the makes the explanation of Pangea being brought in and all of these pieces being separated, that it used to be land on top of water, just like ancient scripture says, that it was land on top of water. So really interesting things. Just a theory. Go out there and research drop moon, and you'll be able to find all those stuff. So that kind of helps answer that question. But it looks like we've lost Adam. Did we lose you, Adam? Somebody said, "Can you all do this regularly?" Well, you know, it's up to these guys. I'm happy to do this, you know, every now and then if they're willing to. All they have to do is ask, or I'll bring it up. But yes, we would love to do this. And the last time mankind actually collectively cooperated. When was the last time mankind actually cooperated? When was that, do you think?
Well, I mean, we're cooperating at all times, even when we're fighting each other, I guess, in a roundabout way. But I don't know. I don't know. That's a deep question.
Well,
Tuesday, 1973 in December. That was the last time.
And what's the definition? And what's the definition of cooperated, right?
Yeah, right. Exactly. What's the definition of anything?
I can tell you we are all cooperating in the sense that we're all breathing at the same time. We're all, yeah, there we go. So global cooperation right there.
So Rice TV, who I've done a show with, said, Global Witness, I'd love to be a part of one of these in the future. Absolutely. Rice is a good dude. Good guy. He has a channel on there, Rice TV. Is it Rice TVX? Yes, it is. Rice TVX.
Yeah, that was a good interview. That was a good interview you two did. I like that interview.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
It was good. He does a great job.
Melia did. She posted some Parker 578's comment, says, heard Trump's new social platform is backed by Wuhan, China.
No joke. I'm looking that up.
It says your thoughts.
Well, I mean, I had that weird dream.
I don't have any research into this other than reading the headline. But the first thing that comes to my mind when you read a headline like that is they who are against them are going to dig for any possibility. And by the way, anything that's big in tech, anything that
it's
has
all over.
A lot of
it's
money
Al
in
Jazeera.
It's
Al Jazeera. It's Newsweek.
Yeah, they're
so
going to cover it.
No joke, huh?
No, they're going to cover it like crazy, and they're going to spin it however they want to spin it. And it may be right, and it may be wrong, or it may be extremely awful, or it may be extremely benign. But the point I'm going to make, and I haven't researched it, the point I'm going to make is anytime you've got tech companies, you have investors. And when you have investors, they spend a lot of money.
Right.
And people who are rich with a lot of money that invest in lots of things, invest in lots of things, okay? And to think that any investor out there who's investing on lots of things isn't investing across the globe is kind of like foolish to think that. Everybody who's got every big money person out there who's investing in tech or doing stuff like this has money in China. So that would be like a no-brainer. Like you could probably connect the dots to China through just about anybody right now when it comes to investments.
Yeah, it's just like you know, anytime you get into investment capital like that, investment bankers are going to round up money. So that's why BlackRock owns so much, right? They become this massive investment firm, and I promise you that BlackRock has offices in Wuhan. I'm absolutely certain that 100%. there are major corporations that are partially owned by Wuhan. They didn't even know it.
Can I say something about this? Because I think that this is interesting. I don't think any of that will matter. I still don't think that it's going to at all disrupt Trump's huge major comeback. It's going to be huge. It's going to be the biggest ever. I think that's going to happen. I'm not saying that that should be a good thing, but here's the thing. I see history playing itself out again and again and again. There's nothing new under the sun. I always saw Trump as a Nebuchadnezzar type. When everybody thought that he was going to win, I said, you're going to lose everything in an instant because Nebuchadnezzar lost everything, right? And then boom, here's Trump. He loses everything in an instant. And then what follows Nebuchadnezzar is this guy, this King Nabonidus, who turns out to be, he has dementia. He's like this old guy. He can't even finish his term. Nabonidus comes out. He doesn't even know. He knows nothing. He's like a meathead. And he can't remember anything, and they call him the Mad King, and he does some horrible things. But Nebuchadnezzar has this, there was a prophecy about how the tree that is Nebuchadnezzar, the whole world was in the shade of it, lopped down completely to the root, but he said the root is still in the ground. So you got this grassroots movement that's behind Nebuchadnezzar, that if he humbles himself to God, that the kingdom's still there. So I'm hoping, I don't like thinking the worst. I always think the worst. I'm hoping, God can take this guy. I don't think he's like a godly man at all, not even close. I'm hoping God can take whoever is there and turn their heart. But I don't think this is going to stop what's coming. And I don't find it shocking at all that China's behind it.
No,
at all.
I can tell you, here's the whole thing. I would not doubt it if Trump came back, but I can tell you right now, the circumstances that would be required to have him come back would just make him a strong man. He would be a dictator at levels. Everybody say, "Oh no, he wouldn't. He loves him." He doesn't.
Hopefully not.
I would say that it's incredible the differences, and you would think that also you could look at both of them, Trump and Biden, in two different ways. You could say that Trump is out, and so he has the mortal wound in his head, and everything's gone. He's got the mortal wound in his head, and he'll return. You could say that about him. You could also say that Biden has the mortal wound in his head right now, right? And who can do anything about this beast? Because the guy can literally go up and say nothing for 15 minutes, and everybody goes, "Ooh." It's the oddest thing, right? It's a strange phenomenon, and it's like, who can fight this beast? The one that has a mortal wound in his head and doesn't die. How come this man, how can he still stand up there and be president of this country?
No. Yeah. And especially after that town hall, there wasn't one mistake. There wasn't two. There was multiple where he just lost where he was. He actually asked, he goes, where am I at? And Anderson Cooper actually had to help him through. So regardless if you are a fan of Trump or a fan of Biden and you are supporting, even his most hardcore supporters must go, okay, yeah, most of them probably know that someone else is actually in charge, and they're probably, feel solace in the fact that, he's just the face. And most people think, well, that's just the face, somebody else in charge. What concerns me is who is actually in charge, who's cutting his mic off, who is in control. That's a whole nother show, I'm sure. Before we move on from the Trump thing, and it says that it's backed by Wuhan China money, I don't know if it is or not, just hearing about this, but as Jacob says, it's across the board. Who is he putting that social platform to compete against?
Mm-hmm.
All of the biggest ones, and we know for a fact that this one and many others have basically silenced, I think it was Storyfire and all these other little...
They silenced Trump.
Any kind of competitor comes up in that space, they crush them, and they can crush them with so many billions of dollars. It's chump change to them. So they can pay Al Jazeera, MSNBC, this and that. And we know that because China got caught paying, New York Times and the Washington Post and all these to do positive stories about China. So you can pay any news company, and then when you get back to it, you go, oh, okay, well, who owns all these news companies that are doing this? Well, it all goes back up to BlackRock and Vanguard. BlackRock owns not only people don't realize Fox and the left channel CNN, all of them are connected to Vanguard and BlackRock. So you're talking about, this is way higher than that. I'm only praying that there's somewhere where we can be, that we can speak, that we don't get knocked off. And if Trump's platform is that, you can say that YouTube right now that we're on is tied to 23andMe and this and this and that. Wherever it's from, if I can get a message out to millions of people, that would be amazing, and not be censored and not be stopped from saying whatever. Who's hosting the party? Well, if I can get up on stage and talk freely without them throwing me off, would you go, if you could get your message across to 0 people, or you could get your message across to 1 million people, but the only thing is you got to go to Kim Jong-un's house to do it. Would you do it, or would you not?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sure YouTube
with that guy.
Whoever's behind YouTube, I'm sure is probably pretty powerful, maybe devious. I work for them, It's like we got to do what we got to do. We just got to follow the rules.
Well, again,
God, I hope things turn out to be good. I hope they do. You know what it is? I judge a tree by its fruit. It was Melia said, you know,
she did.
Look
will
at
know
the
them by their fruit.
attributes. So it's kind of like certain things. Like if you say, I'm going to have you arrested, that's the first thing I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do. I'm going to get a special prosecutor. And then the first thing you do is give a speech and say, we owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to this person. So it's like right off the bat, I'm like suspect. I'm like sus. So I'm praying and I'm hoping, because I think this whole Babylonian system, this whole Chaldean Egyptian system is just so spooky, you know, but God is good. God is good. So you know what? Let's pray for our leaders, you know, whoever they may be, because God placed them there. God placed Joe Biden there. I hate to say it. He placed Trump there. I hate to say it.
Everything happens. Everything that happens is intentional. Everything that happens, there is no such thing as coincidence. There's no such thing as happenstance. There isn't. Not in your life, not in their life, not in this world. There is no such thing. Everything is planned. You know, it is truly like the Truman Show. We just have to figure out how to find that door and walk and say goodbye to the director and wave off and say good day, you know.
I sold Ivanka. I sold her a pillow when she was a kid. Isn't that interesting? Jacob and his pillow. Sold Ivanka and I produced Trump twice. And I watched Trump get doused in vampire blood at Madison Square Garden. I have a connection to this. I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him because if it was all a big scam, if it was all a big scam and it was all a big show, I had this weird dream. People don't know this is I sound ridiculous, but if it was a big show, man, brilliant. Because when he comes back, we're going to be like, yes, finally, we got the guy. But if it wasn't a scam, then it's like, oh God, you know, I hope he comes back. It's like, you don't know who to believe. You don't know what to trust. And that's because the dragon who's behind it all has a flood of lies that goes out. Mm-hmm. And so it's impossible for us to know the truth. So much so that they say that those chosen elect that are here to, like the Eternals, dun, 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 we're going to bring people back to the Lord, that it's that deceptive that even they could be deceived. So I don't know. I don't want to say any of them are bad or good. Let their tree be known by their fruit. And I love you guys. I really do. I think so highly of all of you. Thank you for having me on.
Well, let's do it again soon. Let's do it again. We'll figure out sometime when, particularly probably around major things that have taken place. It's probably good to gather us all together and talk about those major things, those major shifts and major changes. Now, everybody else here, we're going to close off because everybody else here has had an opportunity to use the restroom as I see everybody go away. But no.
I've been here the whole time.
You have.
Jack has a bottle. He has a bottle. You don't listen. He's got a big bottle right now.
We got to go, man. We got to go. No, but honestly, my tooth is starting to act up. I was hoping that it would last through the show, and it has. I'm thankful we got 2.5 hours out of this. I could have done 10. I love you guys. Thank you so much for coming on here. Go to Marfoogle News. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Go to Jacob Israel. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe. Go to Dex Space J, right?
That's
or
correct.
Underscore.
Space.
Go there. Subscribe. Show them the love. Make sure when you get there, say that you saw it all happen here. This is where it happens. Melia says, love you all. We'll talk to you guys soon. Love you much. Thank you for coming.
Thank
you for having us.